people in chat already. Here we have two of our friends joining us for a mental health stream that we're going to be chatting about. Trav, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. My name is Travis, Super Trav, or Travioli if you're feeling spicy, I suppose. I am a variety streamer here on Twitch, and in real life, I am a child therapist. Fully licensed, got the masters, did all the normal stuff. So I promise I am legit. I can go get this stuff if you really want me to.
Qualifications.
But yeah, that's and I've known Ferrari for a little while, and we run pretty parallel, you and I.
Mm-hmm.
We usually stream around this like the same time, so like we just kind of like catch each other like right afterward usually.
Mm-hmm. It's just raid targets constantly back and forth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And Sirius, you want to introduce yourself as well? Tell them about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Siri. Just a variety streamer, casual gamer. I'm a teacher in real life, and I deal with kind of work with kids with mental health difficulties, kind of welfare barriers to learning, significant kind of trauma, troubled backgrounds. So a big part of what I do is running a trauma-informed kind of approach to learning outside of this, getting people education. And I guess most of my experience is from absolutely zero qualifications, by the way, when it comes to mental health and psychotherapy. But been through a lot on my side and faced a lot of my past and my barriers. So always here to kind of share and support people through kind of experiences that I've been through.
Mm-hmm. And I'm the same. I have life experience qualifications as well. So most of you guys know me unless we have any new people in here. I'm a variety streamer every day of the week, and we definitely concentrate on mental health things and have some serious discussions in our chat as well. And I very much am into self-growth and doing a lot of research to improve yourself and learn. Hi, I'm new. No, you're not, Vincenzo. Alrighty. So I don't know where you guys want to start out. Now we have a lot of things that we wanted to talk about today, and as you guys know, there's been breakups that have been happening lately. We've been talking about relationships and things like that. So I'm not sure if you guys want to start in any particular place. I know, Trav, me and you were talking about different relationship dynamics right before stream. Me, myself, I'm monogamous relationship. And then, Trav, you live the poly life. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. So there's a lot of different terms for different non-monogamous lifestyles. Like non-monogamy is one of those terms. Another term is ethical non-monogamy or consensual non-monogamy. You sometimes see those abbreviated. There's like polyamorous. There's full-on polygamy, which is where you're married to multiple people. Although we're not there. So we practice a little bit of polyamory and just kind of, go on and try and experience different relationship dynamics with other people other than the person that I live with. And while like I am married to her, I am able to explore other people and other relationship dynamics and things like that, whether that's like just hookups, sometimes it's like friends with benefits style, sometimes it's situationships, it can be kind of all over the place, and she is allowed to do that as well. I've heard it where sometimes only one partner is allowed to do it, but I personally just don't see that working, but whatever works, right?
Yeah, and I definitely agree with like the ethical poly relationships. So even if you don't agree with like poly relationships, there's monogamous. You do that if you want to be with like one single partner, but if you want to be poly and like everyone's aware of the situation and things like that, it's a dynamic that works as long as everybody agrees with it. They're okay with the whole dynamic. There's no like jealous feelings and things like that. Like that works for a lot of people, especially people who don't want to just be with one person and you don't want to have that singular commitment for your entire life. It allows you to have different opportunities and meet different people and things like that too, right? So what about you, Sirius? What do you identify as?
Oh man, so relationships has always been a really complicated one for me, and it's something that came up through therapy when I went through, kind of looking at why I struggle with commitment, and why kind of I could be with somebody and it could be 6 months, it could be a period of years, and then kind of understanding, is it love or is it just lust? Is it kind of a complicated, expansion of what lust is? Because I don't really understand what the concept of love is. I'm 37 years old and love is a complete mystery to me. I feel like I feel it, but it's trying to understand it is really complicated. But it's funny, I hear everyone talk about relationships, and you see people that have been married for 40 years, or again, some people, you got polyamorous relationships, and whatever else exists out there. I know there's a huge amount of diversity within kind of relationships, but yeah, it's just people forming bonds. It's something I've never been able to have. I grew up, I got sent away from home when I was 6 into education. I barely ever went home, so I didn't have a parental model of what a healthy, good, loving relationship was. So I never kind of got to form any of that. So yeah, the concept of relationships have always kind of like eluded me in a way. It's kind of a bit sad, I guess, but yeah, it's a strange one for me. I'm very mixed feeling on it because I struggle with commitment. I struggle what kind of love is. I struggle with, having that. Oh, I've been with this person 20 years because I think I've managed 6. 6 is the longest I've had twice.
That's a long relationship.
That is.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But then you look, we psychoanalyzed all my relationships through therapy, and we actually looked back, and it turned out actually, yeah, this one wasn't love. This was this, and abusive relationships is a really big thing that I've been through. So that's really shut me down when it comes to trusting people or wanting things. I've been financially, psychologically, and emotionally abused for a good 12 years out of my 18 years worth of relationships. So they're tumultuous for me. They're very hard to trust people, and I think because I've got that big barrier up, not wanting to let people in, relationships are really difficult. But I guess I try them. Yeah, I try them. It's very complicated.
And I think the one thing to remember with that too is that we all have a different journey. So even if you're still learning right now, we're still so young that this has been part of the journey. So even if whatever you're looking for, or if you're looking for those feelings, it's going to look something different to you than it is to somebody else. Like some people got married when they're 20 years old. We're past that point. We're on our own timeline now. So you brought up a lot of really good topics too. I actually also was in an abusive relationship for 5.5 years. So I can definitely relate to you on that one, both physically and mentally. So that's something that I was through, and I've done a lot of recovery in the last few years in trauma programs and things like that. So I know where a lot of those feelings come from and why a lot of those things happen. And I've also had 6.5-year relationships, and I think we should also talk about attachment styles, because that kind of screams to me what you were just talking about. I am very much an anxious attachment style person that I am trying to get out of. So I attract a lot of certain things, and I overly love people. So I'm the complete opposite of you, Sirius. I feel that love feeling very easily. Now, Travis, are you aware? Are you a secure attachment style person?
Oh God, no.
No.
So unfortunately, my personal relationship attachment style is insecure. I have a lot of similar to both of y'all. I was also in an abusive relationship, which I feel you, Sirius.
Divorce
when
okay
I don't know if yours was physical or not, but I got a lot of well, you're bigger than her. Like, what's the problem?
We're moving on together, right?
So I got a lot of that kind of
Hi guys, welcome in.
Stigmatization and stuff like that. So unfortunately, that kind of led to, I've done a lot of healing. That was I want to say 9 years ago at this point. But it was a very hard thing to learn. Like, how do I? Because I basically was tricked and manipulated into thinking, oh I'm not worth anything. So if this person leaves me, then I'm definitely not worth anything, even though they're not good to me. And like deep down, you kind of know that, being in the abusive side of the relationship, you also understand, you're like, well, maybe that's not really the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very emotional thing. Yeah, so all three of us have been through something very similar.
Yeah, I've actually learned a lot of, not just because therapy and being a therapist, so being literally on both sides of the room, but also learning a lot, just like in the polyamorous world, just like, oh my god, everyone has these different attachment styles. Like, some people I've had, like, I was originally in just like the talking stage where they're like, well, you didn't text me back in an hour, so I assumed you just weren't interested anymore. And I was like, it was an hour,
Yeah. And so for anyone who isn't aware of attachment styles, and see which one maybe you like resonate with the best. And yes, communication and emotional intelligence is real work, and everything in relationships and life is real work, and it never stops. Anyone who thinks they're perfect, you got a problem. I promise you. Don't stop working on yourself, and you can fix something, and then something else is going to pop up. So it's like life is work, and we're really all children, not wandering around not knowing what we're doing. So, but attachment styles. So there's secure attachment styles. So that means a lot of this comes from your parents and caregivers when you are younger, and how they raised you, how you got affection from them if your needs are being met. So secure means you have trust, honesty, support. All your needs are met when you were younger. You're very secure in relationships. I feel like this is probably the most rare one. Avoidant attachment styles. There's both avoidant, dismissive. Now, this is where you can either be really neglected by your parents, or you can be really boosted up by your parents, have an overinflated ego. And a lot of narcissism comes from some of these types of attachment styles. You can either retract from people, push them away, be very emotionally closed off with people, and have difficulty connecting. Or you can have a really overinflated ego where you really push your boundaries on other people and are very controlling and very selfish in your actions, where a lot of abusers come from. The other one is anxious attachment styles, which is myself. When you have unpredictable parents, so let's say you get love sometimes, then other times you don't. You're really on your own, trying to figure out what gets you that love and searching for love in other people. So it's the clingy, what people call clingy to other people. And you can want that attention from people all of the time. You want people to text you back all the time. And it can be different degrees. It doesn't have to be very severe. Like, it can be just a little bit. So there's different variations of all of these. But it's also noted that avoidant and anxious attachment styles also love to find each other, and they do not mesh well a lot of the time, which is where a lot of abusive relationships come from as well. So you can maybe look some of those up too, guys, if you relate with one of them, and there are ways of healing this as well. Any comments on that, guys? Have you heard these terms before? I know, Travis, you have. Have you ever heard of those before, Sirius?
I just actually flicking through, looking at the different ones, because all I've done is delved into one of them a little bit before, which is the disorganized and disorientated, because that one just like it jumps in straight away, and it's interesting just having a little quick scan, read through it, all about the like antisocial, negative behaviors, abuse of alcohol, drugs. I had like anger issues when I was younger, but following university became I've done a few streams and talks about my previous addictions, being a cocaine addict and being an alcoholic.
Good for you for getting over that.
Like, it's a lot of it was all about just disbanding that parent state, going back to child state. So you're carefree, you're detaching from everything, so you can just like be yourself and be free and like just forget all of your troubles and woes and whatnot. And I think, yeah, like there was no model parental relation there. School was my parent. And unfortunately, in private school in the UK, boys were taught to not feel, and teachers and other students would abuse you in many ways in order to basically like detach you from that. You're a man, you're designed to be like emotionless. You are there to provide. You should not feel. That's not your place. Just like the woman should not have to think. She should be autonomous. You are the one that controls the relationship, and that essentially is what school did to me. So you've kind of got your parents kind of sat there not having much of an impact. You've got school drilling all this information into you. And then when you tie that together with, repressive trauma, disbandment issues, detachment issues, and it all effectively just spirals like mentally out of control, and overflows into relationships. And just looking at it all, and it's like the abusive relationships we just mentioned, and kind of in passing, guys, because it's easy to get to dive into that too much because they're very difficult to discuss. But it's like, yeah, trying to like being abused was so normal, if you know what I mean, because that is what I grew up with from the age of 6 onwards. Like,
yeah.
it's just like it's so normal. It's just like, oh, this is almost a weird comfort in a relationship, and it's just like, man, that shit's not healthy. I mean, it's just like, fuck, that's really bad. But you don't see it until you're out the other side and you've got help from it, and you're looking down. It's like, man, that's wild. Yeah, and it's just looking at the list of things here about childhood may have been shaped by abuse, neglect, trauma. You crave security and safety in a meaningful environment and intimate relationship, but you also feel unworthy of love and terrified of getting hurt again. It ticks all the boxes, doesn't it? And it's like, it's wild. And being honest, the reason why I find it particularly difficult, I don't think it's because I can be quite cold. Like I could love someone for a long time or feel like I love someone, and something happens and I'm like, bang, draw the line, see you later, and I won't even blink twice. It's just gone. It's they're cold, and their thing is, oh, if you love me, how can you feel so cold? It's what I've been used to doing. But then the downside of that, I feel it's really selfish on the person that you're trying to let in because you want to form a relationship and you have that barrier up there, and that person could be giving you everything because they truly love you and you're really special to them. And it's really hard to kind of like show that back because it just does not exist at this stage. You know what I mean? I feel so selfish towards people that I get in a relationship with, because I cannot kind of like reciprocate the exact kind of feelings and emotions that they've got. It's difficult. It's complicated one.
Do you have a comment on that, Travis? Because I've never been avoidance. Is there like a trick to fixing like an avoidant attachment style?
Therapy.
Therapy.
There's a lot of I kind of like the idea. I go with, and I'm a child therapist, so this is kind of helpful for children, but adults as well. You're not broken. That's just what happened, right? It's not like you're busted, you're destroyed, you can never have a normal relationship type of things, right? What is a normal relationship to you and the person that you're with, or the multiple people that you're with in my case, like could be totally like people look at your relationship and go, how could he be so cold? What's the matter with him? And you're like, but that's normal to me. That's what I know and what I know how to do. And the person that you're with might be able to understand that, hopefully should be able to understand that, and be able to kind of also combat that and go, okay, hang on, like let's before you run away with your avoidant style, let's at least, we can keep our distance, but we can even work on it from a distance in this very monogamous style relationship that we're talking about here. It's hard. And I would absolutely say it's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. But it is definitely, like you said earlier, the avoidant and the insecure attachments are very, they connect so quickly, just because I'm sure you might have heard the term love bombing, where somebody just like dumps all this love on you in the very beginning, and it's just, it's like, oh my God, it's going to be like this forever. And then it goes downhill from there pretty much, which is the bomb part. So I think there's, we've all experienced a similar thing, but we're all didn't experience the same thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think so that just like, it takes a lot of work to get where you want to go, but then also like looking at the dynamics you have with people, and like it's finding the right person. Like you're going through like billions of people on a planet trying to find someone that meshes with you. So the more you understand yourself, like the more you can, and the more you understand other people and like their attachment styles and stuff, I think you can find someone that meshes with you a little better. And I'm navigating that right now too, right? So I very much look for avoidant attachment styles because it's just what I'm attracted to. And I've gone through love bombing. I've gone through severe love bombing where I haven't had an argument with someone for an entire year of a relationship. And then everything starts falling apart very quickly. So, and anyone who doesn't know what love bombing is, like, yeah, it's really like over complimenting complimenting, taking you out on dates, saying all the right things very quickly, saying I love you very quickly in relationships, and then all of a sudden they start showing some of the true aspects of themselves, and it's very different than what you got used to. Um, and yes, there's a lot of similar things in the military that happen like that. I've had 2 military relationships where there's a lot of mental health issues that come out of that, simply because I think how people are treated in the military as well, and what they're taught to believe. So I've seen that, Zach, for sure. I can relate to that. Now, yeah, so we've all had different experiences when we were younger, and it's a big part of is understanding what you've been through specifically, and how it comes up in your everyday life. So a lot of emotions you felt from when you were younger, especially with your parents, they will be brought back up in situations and relationships. So let's say you used to fight with your parents all the time. Well, if you have an argument with your spouse or your partner or whomever, those feelings can come back up and trigger the same reaction out of you when it's really a parental thing and not the person who's standing in front of you. So that's something that can happen too if you're not aware you're doing that. It's really important to like kind of look and see what your personal trauma is and how to move forward with that as well. You said something else, Sirius, now, and I can't remember what you said that made me want to bring something else up.
I picked up the love bombing from you, because that's something that we discussed in therapy as well, because it's strange. They told me to look out for one of the red flags for me to receive is when people do that. It's like the whirlwind relationships where everything happens very quickly, it escalates really quickly, and then I've always been told to like push away from that. Try and go for something outside of that, because even though it feels slow, that's what you want, because then that forms a stronger foundation of a relationship.
Online help for sure, guys.
And then that could build up to a more successful one. The downside of that one is as well as kind of wanting to receive it, because for me that's because I had to have all emotions, things attached. When something felt good, I wanted it all immediately because it feels good, it's comforting, so I never have it. And then I that is something that I do tend to reciprocate. I'm very kind of passionate, very I'll say like self-charming person in a way. Like I like to be affectionate, I like to compliment, but then I'll always do that. But I do notice I do that to people anyway. Like I'm always very, very full on, very quickly, because in my mind it's a case of, hey, this is really good, so I want to enjoy it whilst it's good, because I know it's not going to last, because it's going to get taken away. And that's something that even through therapy they said, man, that you could be in your deathbed before your brain learns to unscramble that. Like I know it's an issue, I know I can work on it, I know I can develop that, but in reality it's kind of, I know like your past does not dictate your future. You can change and you can do what you want. But then I also have a true belief in my head that there's some parts of you with relationships that are so impossible to let go, or you are so used to it, it's almost ingrained deep in your brain that you cannot detach from that. And it's complicated. Again, there's probably a lot more therapy to go through that and the understanding of relationships. But yeah, that whole love bombing and just like carpet bombing of love and stuff, it's just so ingrained that I want to show everybody like all my feelings and emotions and like my love and my desire and everything up front, because it's like, hey, look, this is me, do you take it or leave it? And it's like, man, it can really go both ways at that point. But yeah, really complicated subject. Like I feel like you could do months and months, even years worth of delving into that. It's so hard to try and like brush over and have a quick bite chat about all of this.
I
when
know.
You're on the screen. It's nuts. It's hard to articulate the words from it, but red flags is the big thing, and it's like it's hard to let things go. Let's say you're in a relationship and then it's not the best. You're kind of like, I'm kind of happy, but I'm not. It's really hard to kind of like end it. But then there's a lot of trauma that I don't want to let things go as well. So I'm trying to learn and get better at that. But yeah, I like that the love bombing is like the topic of it is very, very close to home for me. I'm sure it's for probably a lot of people out there as well.
And something that I say too, like you said, it's not something you fix earlier, Travis. I call it waves. It's something like, especially with anxiety and things like that, you have good days and bad days and things can creep back up. So it's like you have to ride the waves and just deal with it as it comes up. So it's not like a permanent fix and fixing things, but when they do come up, it's like building a toolkit to deal with things as they come is the best thing, because if someone can just trigger you one day and you can relapse and have a reaction or have thoughts and stuff, and it's about getting yourself back on track, I think is the really important thing. Now talking about love bombing as well, there's something also called trauma bonding. I'm not sure if you guys ever experienced that as well. So if anyone else in chat or has experienced the same thing as us with trauma bonding, if you are in a long-term relationship with someone who does love bomb, who is a little bit of a narcissist or abuser, you get all this love up front, and you fall in love with someone, and then they start acting very differently. You want to hold on to them and fix them and help them through any problems that they have, but you get this abuse, or like these negative comments start flowing towards you, or these things start happening slowly, and it's never usually a big thing at once. It's like a gradual buildup. So you start accepting more and more of this behavior as you go, and it comes to the point of, okay, well, let's work it out. We want to work it out. We want to make it better. So you go to that person to fix it, and they never fix it properly. It's always a struggle. It's always like half apologies and things like that. But it gets fixed, and then they start showering you with the love bombing again, where they say, I'm so sorry. Let me take you on a date. Let me make this better. So you start reaching to that person to fix things all the time. And that becomes your comfort, and that becomes your safety zone. And that's what the trauma bonding is, or Stockholm syndrome, where you start needing this person to feel better. You start needing other people to feel better. So I don't know if that resonates with either of you as well. Have you experienced that?
Yeah, that's, I mean, that what you just described was the cycle of abuse. A lot of the time it is something bad happens, so I have to make up for it. And, there's no down without up. So I got to make sure I got to go all the way back up, and then it has to come all the way back down. And it starts to kind of form this circle of, I fucked up, so now I got to make up for that fuck up, but I fuck up again, and I gotta make up for that, and it becomes like this kind of very cyclical thing, and the spikes just get more and more. Well, yeah, like, I hit you, but like, we went to the Melting Pot, which is this really fancy restaurant here in America. Like, it's like, yeah, but we went, but like, I took you on that really nice date. It's like, well, yeah, like, I hooked up with your friend, but like, don't you remember when we were together, and like we had that really fun date, and like, that's the trauma bond part, is very like, well, we had this thing together, so how could we possibly let this go? And yeah, that it's very common in any sort of abusive, or and abusive is the wide term. Not all abuse has to be physical. It can be mental, it can be verbal. So just for those out there, I'm just using the term abuse in kind of a wide umbrella term here. Any of those things can be very cyclical, and they literally do just go in circles until eventually something so bad happens that either it stops the cycle, and someone gets out, or in some cases, the really awful, horrible cases, someone dies.
Mm-hmm.
Because the abuse goes too far.
Mm-hmm. And that's been a huge issue here in Canada too. There's been a lot of new laws coming up with stuff like that, and it's really brave for anyone who does get out. Even if you're forced out of it, it's still good to be out. And I have a lot of people in chat resonating with this right now, and I've heard stories from some of you personally. So thank you for sharing that in chat as well. And I'm sorry you have to go through the same thing, but look at how many of us have experienced the exact same thing. And yes, that's why it's important to really understand where all of this comes from, understanding yourself and getting out of it, and realizing how to get out of it, and seeking help online and from therapists as well. I suppose I hard leaving things. Yeah. Thank you for coming in, guys. Panic attacks. Yeah, I will get into panic attacks and PTSD as well later. So a couple of things that got brought up too is with the cycle of abuse. I wanted to bring up the window of tolerance, which you'll probably know of that too, Trav. Window of tolerance is once you go through a lot of these relationships and stuff like that, your whole entire nervous system gets messed up as well. So that's another thing that's hard to come out of relationships like that when they do end, is you've been in an extreme fight or flight experience the entire time you're in that relationship. So instead of having this, like, if a small thing happens, instead of having a small reaction, your reaction is big. So if something really bad happens, instead of just kind of getting upset and getting over it, it's like someone just died, and you're very upset and over the top, and it's really hard to bring yourself and calm yourself down after. So a lot of people that have been in these situations might end up taking a lot longer to get back to normal and learn how to regulate your emotions and things like that. So understand too that if you experience that, like, you can bring it back to normal, but your entire body has been brought up. You will actually, like, a doctor can look at you and tell you've had trauma. Your pupils dilate differently. You may breathe differently. Some people may find that they don't breathe out of their diaphragm anymore, and you're supporting yourself all up here because you're so tense and things like that all the time. You can change your entire way that your body is working, from having some of these feelings and stuff like that. So know that when this happens, it's not just a mental thing. If you feel very tired or exhausted and pain, those experiences are very real, and it can be from things like this. We see hugs and chats. We have suicide hotline. Thank you for sharing that, Trav. Yes, there's tons of support online. But yeah, I certainly had a lot of experience with my nervous system, like the breathing thing that I had. I had anxiety and panic attacks as well, which I'll get into. But did you guys experience any physical symptoms like that, or do you still experience any symptoms like that?
Go ahead, Sirius.
I wouldn't say I do anymore. To be fair, when I kind of look back at my relationships, they are so hazy to me because I'm always, I mean, I've not got great memory issues anyway. I've had a lot of kind of things happen that have caused me to have a bad memory anyway. Everything from abuse to actually like a brain hemorrhage and whatever else. So a lot of the stuff, I know it's bad in my past, but I think therapy helped me deal with a lot of it. So when if I'm in a relationship now, I'm pretty relaxed, I'm pretty chill, I'm pretty calm. I just know what to look out for to hopefully not get back in the cycle. I was gonna say, if I'm just gonna like hopscotch back one, because I know you were saying about in a relationship, and we're saying how hard it is to break the cycle and whatnot, and like what that way out is. I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I was gonna mention just trauma sex, and that's in an abusive relationship. You could argue, there'd be whatever else happens, and then this big fight blows up, and then you end up sleeping together, and then you're both led there, and it's like, oh my god, that was amazing. You know, we like anger sex, and we had like fight sex, and what ends up happening is your brain learns that addictive nature, because you're like, oh my god, this negative thing happened, but it resulted in a really positive thing, so you get addicted to that, and then that becomes the norm, and then any negative emotion looking back is filled with a positive, because all you remember is, hey, actually that felt good. So you end up struggling to leave a relationship because your brain, rather than like picturing the 90% of the shit and the 10% of the good, your body will flip it and be like, hey, it was 90% good, 10% bad. Remember the sex, remember the pleasure, remember this. And it does, like, all the negative memories are overwritten with positive memories from that. And that's one of the big reasons when people separate in abusive relationships, they end up going back, because it's that feeling of, oh, this was good. You start filling in the blanks where your brain's kind of like locked a lot of it out because it was so bad it doesn't want to remember, so it will start piecing things back together again. And then like that whole breaking, that's the cycle I was in, like through basically the trauma sex, and then that ended because eventually my partner at the time, I came home after work one day and I found that they had another man in my bed and they slept together, and in my brain it was, hey, well, that's what I do when I'm sad, when I'm angry. So now that actually was perfect, because that broke my, well, that's no longer mine, that space, and that pushed me out of that relationship straight away. And hey, that got me free. So it was a really good thing, and healthy for me. But it's just kind of crazy that, something as simple as sex can like completely override any level of trauma to make you feel like that relationship was nothing but positivity, when actually it was the most toxic thing that you've been in your life. I just wanted to kind of put that in there, because that was from what we were on before we moved on, but I just wanted to kind of have that discussion, because I know there's a lot of people out there who probably might be in the same thing or might have been in the same thing. You know, don't fill in the blanks with, hey, the sex was great, because that's probably that's really not healthy.
As part of that reinforcement that they're bringing you back out of it, they're solving it, they're fixing it for you through that. That's one of the methods, and never be ashamed of that either, because actually a lot of sexual abuse victims as well. There's a huge shame thing around that because some of them feel arousal when things like that happen, and that's not their fault, and it's a body trigger and things like that. So your body and your hormones and your things that are going on can very much take over and give you positive reinforcement for some of those things, even though it's not a positive situation at all. So that's a very, very real thing. So yes, talk about it, and it is very real for anyone who resonates with that. But yeah, what about you, Trav? Did you experience any like physical symptoms like from anxiety or nervous system or anything like that?
I definitely, and I tell this to all types of all types of relationships. Learn how to fight. So like, and I'm not talking like boxing. I'm talking like learn how to argue with each other, because you had actually mentioned it right before this was your parents and like the way that arguments were with them, and that what you saw and experienced with arguments with them very much led into like what you're more into or what your argument style is now. So personal experience with my current partner, my wife, her and I argued way differently, and we didn't realize this right away. It was our very first fight after that honeymoon phase. It was like one of our first like big legitimate fights was in her house growing up. Whoever was the loudest won the argument. And in my house, it was shut up and take your lashings. So we just went quite literally like opposite directions. So like I would shield up and get like quiet and you know, just like small and just apologize a billion times, and she would assume that I wasn't listening because I wasn't yelling back. So like it just escalated slash me de-escalated just like to this point of we like could not work things out. And then I just also come from that previous abusive relationship, and that one thought in my mind was, I wish you would just hit me and get this over with. Like this is ridiculous. Like I'm tired of arguing. Just like throw something at me. Like wouldn't that be easier? And my partner was like, no. Like do you not see how fucked up that is? And I was just like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. Like it was one of those really hard lessons. Ended up going to couples counseling for like, I don't know, a month and a half or so, just to kind of like figure out like where that came from. So yeah, definitely had like that nervous system just like shut down, like just kind of shield up.
The flight.
Shut up and take your lashes. The new thing, there's flight, fight, or fawn.
Yeah.
And fawn is what I got so used to doing, which was just kind of like, you know, put on your puppy eyes and just, you know, take whatever they're going to give you. And it wasn't until recently, I'd say like a year or so into the relationship, that I've like, okay, I got to learn to speak up. I got to learn to do these things. So it was very informative to learn how to fight, how to argue with your partner. And now like learning those types of things, now I know if any of my other future partners like, and we get into arguments, all right, I know my style. How are we going to argue and make it a safe environment for everybody? Because they might also have some experience that I don't know about, and I could be a trigger. A big trigger that I learned about in just like therapy in general was, I'm a big dude. I'm like 6 feet tall. I'm like about $2. Like I'm a big dude, right? And so working with little kids, and their abusers are perpetrated by men, generally larger than they are. Oh, okay. So like that's like a trigger for some people, and I had to learn like, okay, let me sit on the floor, you know, let me always have something soft in my hand, you know, let me make it so I don't have anything that could be used as like a throwing thing or a weapon. So like even pens, you know, like let me put that pen down and let me go grab one of my puppets or something like that. So very, very much a lot of, it's called an autonomic nervous system, meaning it has control of itself. So for those who are like talking, who like experience, why do I do that? Oh my God, like I can't figure out why. It's automatic. So try not to beat yourself up over something that your body is doing automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And what you were saying earlier about the toolkit.
Yeah.
Learn how to handle the situation, learn how to handle the trigger, because you can't always control it.
Yeah, and that's some huge things too. I think, and thank you very much for the videos, by the way, guys. Having argument styles, that's something I've gone through. So different people with different argument styles, and I come from a background with very verbally loud things in the house and things like that. And I find from that I get defensive on things, and even sometimes after stream I'll be like kind of antsy and reactive to things and people, and like after stream sometimes I'll like apologize. Like I know some of you got it the other night when I was a little moody, and I'm like, sorry guys, I was moody today. So like it's about recognizing that you're doing things and reacting certain ways, and yeah, trying to find with your partner how to communicate. And one thing I'm really working on is being able to stay calm and really try and understand where the other person is coming from. Like I do feel like there's a huge thing of narcissism and selfishness, and like I need to come first a lot of the time right now, and I think kind of toning down and trying to understand this is someone that you care about. You want to understand where they're coming from, where this hurt is coming from, instead of getting reactive to things all the time and learning what to say. So I think that's very important. My most recent breakup, I feel like I handled this very well. I was very proud of myself, how calm I was bringing something up, and they reacted so defensively right off the bat. And it did end up triggering me by the end of it, and I couldn't deal with it. And I made the decision to, we mutual walked away. But that's something new for me. That's something I hadn't experienced before. But I was proud of how I handled it at the beginning. I didn't feel like I did anything wrong. So sometimes it works. And if it's really not going to work, you need to recognize when to walk away instead of trying to fix them as well. And that's something with boundaries. That's like the taboo biggest word I think of the last 5 years is boundaries. Boundaries can be different things. So that can be as small as like, I'm not okay if you say these things to me. Or it can be as large as like, if you do this, I will not be talking to you anymore. So there's all different levels of boundaries. So setting those boundaries in your relationships with friends, relationships, all that things. This is what protects me and stops me from being hurt. This is what's acceptable to me and what's not. Before I ask you guys a question too, I would like to mention boundaries. This is my biggest thing. Everyone's about self-care, self-love. Boundaries is not an excuse to treat people shitty. If you have a boundary, that doesn't mean that you can say, no, I'm going to do this because this is my boundary and you need to accept it. Thank you for those snaps. This is the biggest thing that I see on social media. People read into these things like, I'm important, I need to put myself first. But you also need to think about other people and their feelings, and that these are other people.
It's a yes. It's a yes and.
It's a yes and. There's always a yes and more to it. Are there any boundaries that you guys have like set for yourself, or that like you really stick to at all, that you've ever kind of had to set with someone, or that you think are important? That's a hard question.
I think I'll always be a recovering addict, because if you've been a drug addict and you get off it, you're never clean. You're always, for the rest of your life, a recovering addict, because you have traits that allow you to go, back into things. Your addictive personality and everything else. My thing is, if someone does drugs, you're out immediately. If I find out that you're doing something sneaky on the side, see you later. Don't care how tied I am with someone, you're gone. There's no, oh, you can go and get support and go get off of it. It's just like, see you later. It's not good for me. I'm not having my family be raised and involved in anything. It's just seeing the pain and the hurt that I caused other people from my addiction. It's just like, no chance letting that anywhere near me. That includes even just a slice of smoking marijuana. It's just like, yeah, not at all. See you later. Get out. Not interested. Overuse of alcohol as well, I would say, is another big no for me. I'll enjoy a drink from time to time. I did a stream yesterday and I had a bottle of wine. I had like 2 glasses in the evening and 2 on stream. That's fine. But if somebody's going out and drinking every night and it becomes a repetitive thing, that's a huge red flag for me. This is way beyond the boundary of mine, so I wouldn't tolerate it, because again, being hooked on alcohol, drinking a bottle of vodka a day sort of thing, I'm just not interested in seeing people do that to themselves and potentially rope me back into anything. But Yeah, apart from those hard ones, which I think they're probably quite universal for a lot of people. Heavy use of alcohol and drugs is probably a massive red flag that most people wouldn't do. The bigger one that I think a lot of us are desensitized to is assaultive language. Like, I think it's fine, like using swear words in general are fine. I have no problem. F-bomb, C-word, whatever. None of it bothers me. Words are words. What does bother me is if somebody directs that word at me. And outside of banter, my work colleagues, we can call each other whatever, it's banter. But if I have a partner, a loving partner that throws someone at me, going, I wish you would stop being such a, I don't know where you sit with swear, so I'll just put a C word towards you. That is a huge no for me. That is you do not say that to me. If you say that again, there is the door. That is never acceptable. You will not treat me that way. And that's come from major therapy and abusive relationships and knowing exactly what that boundary is. You talk to me like that again, you're out. And they're lucky to even get a warning if that happens, to be fair. But that is the boundary. You got to give somebody the one. That's not okay. But I think that's probably the main one. Invasiveness as well. It's just like, oh, can I have a look through your phone? It's just like, get the fuck out. Hell no. You're not controlling me like that. Massive no. That is not okay. It's like if someone opens your post that comes through the door. Not okay. It's invading your sacred part of something you have with your friends and with your family and stuff. And I'm very against that. I think that's a level of control that I don't enjoy because I've had it through my abusive relationships. Can I see your phone? Can I have this? Where are you? Where are you going? So I think mine are very, very hard boundaries. Mine are like abuse-driven boundaries, if you know what I mean, both through personal, like drug abuse, to the abuse others have shared. But when it comes to like other stuff, I have not had those yet because I've not had a like big relationship since therapy. So I haven't been able to put any boundaries in place, sort of thing. It's just I've not not had to, but I certainly know what mine are.
Mm-hmm.
What about you guys?
Trav?
Yeah, I mean, pretty. Like, I liked what you were saying there, Sirius. Very, very. You were saying like they're fairly common, but they're also like the thing that you said that really stuck out was for you. They're my boundaries. Like, I don't get to enforce boundaries on other people. It's my boundaries are here, right? Like, I don't get to say like you have to have this boundary. That's not how boundaries work. They're yours, and they have to be yours. If someone wants to follow within your boundaries, then great. Where everyone's happy, and it's great. And there's also the idea of not controlling the other person to the point of like you know that's enough water, Sirius. Like that kind of thing. You're like, whoa, like, right? Because then I'm like, but that's a boundary for me. You're drinking too much water. And it's like, that doesn't, that's not how that works exactly.
Yeah.
But that would be on me to leave the relationship because you're drinking too much water, right? Like, that's not up to the other person. But yeah, I mean, similar boundaries. Honestly, it's don't like being in that abusive relationship in the past where I was getting hit. Like, it's like we don't get to raise fists. We don't get to do anything like that. We don't get to swing at each other. We don't get to throw things. And that include like, and not that I've ever done it, but it includes me. It like, if I even get to the point, I've actually, my therapist says to argue sitting down. So, so I've learned to sit on the floor, because that way I can't like get too animated or as animated. Yeah, similar style things, assaultive language, those types of things. I'm trying to think if there's any other like really like out there ones, but not particularly. I'm very, your life is your own, and if it rubs up against the boundary of mine, I will let you know. So I'm never gonna say like, oh, don't get that piercing. Like, no, that's not a thing. It's like, hey, it's yours. It's your body. Do whatever you want with it. And that's kind of the way that I've learned to not only accept other people for who they are and where they're at, but also like, oh, is it really that bad if they're doing something with their body? Like, it has nothing to do with me. about you,
Um,
Miss Fire?
So, Miss Fire, by the way, I think we started a new hashtag floor gang in chat. Um,
Go.
floor gang. So with this, I do want to address like where energy is directed to with insults first. Yeah. There's a million ways to say things. People can choose how they say things to you. Instead of swearing, they can bring things up very calmly and politely. So if someone is directing things toward you, insulting you, belittling you, refusing to apologize, or giving apologies like "I'm sorry that you are upset because of that," not an actual apology. A lot of things like that. I don't think that's something anyone should tolerate. Now, boundaries for me. So this is kind of new too, because I very much have not had a lot of boundaries in my life. So my new ones, the ones that I just enforced, is if anyone starts belittling me in an argument, or I feel they talk over you, create a narrative, or tell you how you're feeling, or telling you how you are thinking instead of trying to listen and understand where you're coming from. That is a huge thing for me. It's you're not trying to de-escalate. You're not trying to find a solution. You're trying to win. And some people you cannot bring out of that. So that's a big boundary that I had. In therapy, especially in the last year, I realized a lot of things about my family dynamic and people that have influenced me. And I have learned, oh, geez, well, looks like it's not the one thing that I thought it was. There's actually things that came from a lot of different areas. So I started setting boundaries with a lot of my family members, how they speak to me. If I feel like I'm being put down or reserved, or being told that I'm not doing things correctly all the time, those are things that I don't accept anymore. It's like, no, if this keeps getting brought up over and over again, I'm going to say, no, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Like, this is upsetting me. And if they continue doing it, I walk away. And I say I'm going to walk away. I'm not dealing with this anymore. So I think maybe learning what really makes you feel small, what makes you like you can't express yourself. If you're not able to express yourself and your emotions, there's boundaries you can set there. You don't need to necessarily cut those people out, but you can set boundaries to not allow them to bring you down like that. So there's ways, subtle boundaries as well, that you can set that are big ones. Now, one that's interesting, how everyone is different. I'm a huge empath. I try and analyze people and figure out where they're coming from. So with one like trust issues with the phone, I'm very open. So if someone had an issue like that where they're like, I need to know what you're doing, I would be a good match for that person, because I'd be like, yeah, okay, here's my phone. I wouldn't care at all. I'd be like, oh no, I'm not hiding anything. And it's like, if this will make you feel secure, I'm more than happy to do that for you. And that's something that I'm comfortable with. So that's a boundary I have complete opposite to you as well, where I'd be like, okay, if this is where it's coming from, like, let me know where your insecurity is. Where is that coming from? And how can I make you feel more secure and not thinking that I'm doing something? So that's something different that you have to decide for yourself as well. I approach it with curiosity, as in like, why are you feeling that way? What did I do to make you feel that way, or where is it coming from? So getting curious sometimes too is interesting, but it's hard to do in the moment, especially if it's an argument. I see you nodding, Travis. You want to say something to that?
It's so funny that you like brought that up, because I was thinking about just thinking about like the early stages of when we were decided that we were going to try any sort of polyamory. And I went out and I got this book. It's actually right here. I went out and got Polysecure. And I went out and I've been reading it, and it's a lot of it is like, be curious about where that emotion comes from. That, because like the thing that gets brought up constantly is like, oh, I could never be poly. I'd get too jealous, right? It's like, well, where's that jealousy coming from, right? And it's like, well, a lot of the time it's fear, right? They're gonna leave me. Like, that's a really common response of, well, they're gonna leave me. And it's like, well, what was stopping them from doing that before in a monogamous relationship? They could have done that the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
In this scenario, they're not only staying with you, they're coming back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, after having this other experience. And it reminded me of this time early on. I got really jealous this one time when my partner went out on a date, and I was like, wow, this is like, it's like making me like angry. And the people who are here from the Super Friends, which, hello everybody, was very like knows that I don't really get angry. I'm not an angry person. I don't have a lot of that in me. Anger takes like a ton of energy from me. So I was like, where is this coming from? Like, what's going on? And I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, she told me what she was doing. She's going out, she's going to go have dinner, and then she's going to go see the Barbie movie. And like, that's going to be like, I know she's going to have a good time and she'll be home later. But like, what is it that I'm like feeling so jealous of? Like, what is there a certain thing? Because like, we go to dinner, we go to movies. What's the issue? I wanted to see the fucking Barbie movie. And I was like, but I wanted to see it with her. Like, and like, I hadn't gotten the chance to see it, and I wanted to go see it with her. And that's where that jealousy was. It wasn't like, oh, that dude's gonna have like, oh, I'm fucked. He's obviously got a huge cock, you know. Like I was like thinking all these things, and it was like, hold on, reel it in a little bit, and realize where that feeling is coming from. Where that exact jealousy is coming from. Is it because they're doing something that you want to do or wanted to do? And she got back, and I told her, and she was like, I'll go see it again. And I was like, okay, great. Then we're good. Like, and all that anxiety, that fear, whatever, just like gone.
Yeah.
So very much just that curiosity of what you said earlier, that like learn where that emotion is coming from. And if it's based on maybe a previous relationship, maybe it's based on an event that's happened, maybe it's based on just kind of like the current thing, like wanting to see the Barbie movie, which I highly recommend. Like go, like explore that a little bit. Explore it a little bit and get to know yourself so that you can bring that to a conversation, possibly about boundaries in a relationship.
I think it's interesting. I'm very interested in the poly thing too. I always lead with curiosity. Like that's my biggest thing, because I'm very much, I would be the worst candidate for that in the world, because with my singular partner, I don't get jealous. I'm like, I like knowing what my partner is doing all the time. And I think some people have been like, oh, why do you want to know what I'm doing all the time? I relate it to kind of like how mothers are like, what did you do at school today? Like, I want to know everything that you did. Like, tell me about your day. Did you eat toast for breakfast? Like, that's very much my personality. And it's like, you tell me like, oh, I'm going out with like 5 dudes and we're going to go do this. And I'm like, okay, have fun. I just want to know where you are and what you're doing, just because I'm curious about what you're doing in your day. And are you having a good time and stuff like that? So I'm not a jealous person, but if, as far as like a poly, I do have a very much possessive thing over my partner, where I would not be comfortable with that at all, and it would internally hurt me. And that's interesting. Like I might have to think about where that would come from and things like that, but it very much could be a fear of being left or something like that. So that's something to think about. That's interesting. But knowing how a poly dynamic would work with something like that is also interesting to think of. So I appreciate that viewpoint. And then did you have a comment at all about the different boundaries things? Because you said interesting as well earlier, Sirius, when I mentioned the phone thing.
Yeah, the phone one, because obviously with me, because of like the abusive relationships, it's a massive red flag. It's like, can I do this? And for you, it's just like, oh, you want to like, someone's got those potential insecurities, you would like to satisfy that, to show them there's nothing wrong. Whereas my brain is working at the point where somebody said, can I do this? It'd be, that's my boundary. No, you can't. However, from a trauma-informed approach would be, well, like, why do you feel like you need to look at that in order to satisfy that insecurity? Like, where does that come from? And I want to have a talk to them about that and see where the insecurity comes from, and actually work on that as a couple. So then I still wouldn't show them any of my things, but I'd absolutely want to work with them to figure that out, to become a strong person, to become a more secure, so then they don't want to do that. Because my say boundaries, if I then do that, that's then letting someone in, that expectation, well, every time you feel insecure, I'm going to give you what you want, as opposed to, let's just make it so you're not insecure anymore. Let's focus on that. You know, what's going on? Can you talk to me about it? You know, do you need therapy because of it, or whatever it is? So it's a whole, a lot of that's been from my job as well. We have kids that misbehave all the time. And it's like, the normal thing a teacher would do was, get out of my class, go to detention, go do this. And it's like, well, they've just been a dick because they're struggling with your work and they want to be naughty because they know they want to get sent out. So you've just rewarded them for it and given them what they want. Whereas what I do is, a kid's misbehaving, they throw something at someone, they get in a fight, or they're misbehaving, and I'll work with them. And because mine's 15 is an early college transfer, but it's 16 to 19. I don't use the college's disciplinary procedure. I actually wrote my entire own disciplinary procedure, restorative trauma informed one. I'm trying to get it pushed through through councils at the minute to see if we can change the whole educational system behavior policy nationwide. At the minute, we'll see how far it goes. But anyway, but it's trauma informed. Like, I noticed this today. You know, what's gone on at home? What happened last night? You know, what have things gone today? Why are you behaving like that? And it's all focused on the why, not reacting to their behavior, discovering what's led to it. And it's why I have great success focusing on that, because you know, there's a reason why people are insecure. There's a reason why people get angry. There's a reason why people are upset. And we're also quick to just dismiss everything and to punish stuff, or just to be like, you know. Slight tangent with it is, you walk by somebody at work and you're just like, morning, how are you today? And you're expecting I'm good, and just bang, you go straight away. Or you expect them just to be like, even if they've got shit going on in their life, they'd be like, oh, I'm okay. You're like, oh, fantastic. You just walk off. Are you actually prepared to ask somebody, how are you? And then for them to turn around and be like, well, actually, let's sit down. I'll tell you how things are. And then the next 2 hours of your day is an absolute fucking roller coaster of trauma and being upset. And they've had the worst day. You know, their dog died in the morning, and then this happened, and this happened. And then they give you all of this like essential like baggage of everything that's gone on. You know, it's like, how many people are willing to have that? And I think that's why there's such a stigma behind this whole like give people what they want, or be dismissive of people because you don't want to know, or you're not equipped to handle it. It's one of the big things. So yeah, I again with the phone thing, it's like, oh, I want to see, no, why are you insecure about it? Let's work on that, and let's really put time and effort into it. If we are going to be a couple, we need to get over this. This is the hurdle that I'm not going to let you walk around. You know what I mean? So it's a very hard boundary for me. And the same with kids misbehaving. Well, if you're misbehaving, there's a reason for it, and I'm going to be the biggest pain in your ass because I'm not going to throw you out of my lesson. I'm actually going to push you even harder to work it even more, because I know you've got the brains in there somewhere. You're just choosing to misbehave to try and get out of it. So now you got to work harder than everybody else because you're being an asshole, and I want to know why. So they're like, oh shit. Yeah. You know, it's just the whole trauma informed approach to discipline, to behavior, to relationships, and it's a big thing for me. But yeah, I reflect a lot of that myself. You know, I have a lot of baggage. You know, I've had a very traumatic past, and if I'm going to accept somebody else in my relationship to kind of like take me on and to question stuff, then I've got to kind of do the same as well. But yeah, whilst maintaining those boundaries.
And yeah, that's another yes and thing. So it's like, oh yeah, I'd be okay with this, but yeah, it's a work on thing, like, and deciding what boundaries and when it goes too far. That's definitely a thing. We had some questions from chat too before they get too far up. So someone asked, how do you approach when you're walking away from a relationship because you understand there isn't a resolution, but they don't want to let go, so the other person doesn't want to let go? Well, that's something, if you've already decided that this is something you cannot handle, you've made it clear, you can answer their questions, like whatever's comfortable for you. If you want to exit a situation, it is your decision to exit that situation. You don't need to be cruel to them, but some people will try and cling and hold on to you and try and fix things. But if you know it's not fixable, just be as kind as you can and be like, look, you can't. If they continue pushing, you set more boundaries. You increase those boundaries. Be like, okay, I set this boundary, you're crossing it. If you continue this, like, it can get to the point of blocking them, calling the police. It can escalate as far as it needs to, the more and more they want to push. So you can do it with kindness, but if they really don't want to accept that, that is on them, not on you. It's not your responsibility to try and fix that for them. I don't know if you guys have a comment on that.
Yeah, I think you said it very well. I think you said it very well. Honestly, you said it. There has to be, if you have reached the point that there is no return, then you have to set your boundaries. And again, they are your boundaries. That doesn't mean they are going to follow them, but they are your boundaries. Is it okay if you keep? You and I were talking right before stream. I just went through a breakup of one of my partners, right? And we don't really text anymore. Like, we don't really talk anymore. But do we still send each other random TikToks here and there? Sure, right? Because that's like a boundary that I'm like, all right, that's okay. But like, if we're like, when we talk, like, we talk, and it's like, let's kind of avoid that. They're very important for me to hold that like we can't talk like we used to. Like, again, sending each other TikToks, okay, no problem. But beyond that, like, that's where, like, I had to kind of, like, draw the line a little bit. Knowing myself and knowing where, like, how hard I fall and so quickly how I fall for that kind of thing. So, yeah, otherwise, you said it really well with just, like, you will keep having to increase the blocks, increase the stuff, and it gets to the point of where it's dangerous, you can get the proper people involved.
And I think it's hard too that you don't have access to this person anymore like you used to. You're no longer in that relationship. They like, even though you have this bond, you know each other so well, you don't have permission to have access to them like that anymore, which is painful. You have to grieve it. And relationships, if they split, even friendships, sometimes you have to grieve it. You have to grieve. I just went through this in the last 2 weeks. I missed tons of streams. Like, you have to grieve everything you guys have done together, all of your memories, everything you're going to miss doing together, talking to this person, having someone there, just that comfort around you. You have to grieve it like something has just died. It's the end of a relationship, and it takes a lot of time to work through. That's something else to bring up too, is a lot of people say regulate your emotions, feel your emotions, and not a lot of things online say how to do that, which is something I personally am just learning how to do. So if you're going through that grieving process or something like that, you have to sit with your emotions. No phone, no TV, no friends, no nothing. A lot of people trying to avoid and do other things. You have to sit there, and it helps for me if you feel where it is in your body. So if you're feeling anxious in your stomach, if you're feeling it in your chest, even putting your hands on your chest and just feeling, okay, what is this? I'm really angry. I'm really sad. Why am I angry and sad? You know, they just blocked me. And I'm really upset about it. I miss them. I miss everything we're doing. Like, just going through exactly what you're feeling, writing it all out if you need to, and then feeling that and crying or getting angry or whatever, and sitting with that for as long as you need to, and then coming back from it and saying, okay, like he has notes and saying, you know, that's how you deal with it, and it'll go away and come back. So you do that as many times a day as you need to, in self-care and you know, really take care of yourself in that time, and it will get easier and it will go away as you go through it. But you need to feel that, and you can't push it aside or jump to other things. Comments on that at all? Have you guys gone through that and processing things? Because I struggle if you guys have tips. So.
Ooh, piece of candy.
Go ahead, man.
So, wow, feeling is something that from school, young age, never done. So everything used to come out as anger a lot. I had big anger problems growing up. So that kind of like, that evened out a lot later in life because I found meditation and basically as the years have gone on, I don't really get angry anymore. I get frustrated, I get annoyed. But I can just like focus and then take a deep breath, and I'm very collective. Like, I work exceptionally well under high stress, high pressure environments, because when everyone else is panicking around like idiots, I just take a breath and I'm like, this is fine. I'm literally that dog in the kitchen on fire with my cup of coffee saying it's fine, but in a way that I can find a way around it, as opposed to just ignoring that everything's going to crap around me. But when it comes to like feeling emotions, one of the really big things was, whenever I felt sad, I take a deep breath and I just went, nope, and bang, got on with it. Huge repressive issue, not healthy at all. I don't advise anybody out there do that. It can lead to heart failure, aneurysms, and all sorts. Real bad. That shit will kill you.
Putting a jar on it.
So now I've learned, like, if I hear a really good piece of music, I get like tingles up my spine. I suddenly feel really overwhelmed, like I want to cry, and I'll actually just take a breath and embrace that now, and I'll let a tear run down my cheek. And then if I see something sad in the movie, it will happen. If I think of something that's sad, I'll now allow myself more to cry. You know, I can cry, but I've always done it in private. Now I'm like, a lot of things cause tears, because unfortunately, because of the massive emotional dysregulation, I do not know how to process specific emotions. Everything comes out, rather than anger, as upset, because your body is, if you go through a pretty traumatic event, crying is your body's way of letting you know you're safe. It's the outlet of I'm not Mr. Psychologist sat down here. I don't, like, crying is your body's way of like being like, okay, that situation's over, I'm safe, I can let it out. It then brings down the toxic stress level, and then you can kind of like start to get back on track. And it's like, if you don't let that happen, things can build and build and build because you're not letting your body know it's safe. So your stress level maintains high. It's really bad for your health, both mentally and physically. So I'm now learning to process stuff. So if someone says something to me that makes me feel annoyed, I will sit there and be like, oh man, that makes me feel annoyed. Yeah, why does it make me feel annoyed? Let's process that. Or somebody said, but the downside to that is I get quite defensive quite quickly as well, because I've had to in relationships. You know, if I don't stand up for myself, who will? So I'm trying to learn now, just to, rather than get defensive, to have a breather and to then get back to that person to understand why I'm feeling things. But I think emotions are incredibly complicated for me. They will be probably for the majority of my life. I know it annoys people around me because they were like, why are you not upset? Why are you not angry at me? Why do you not feel this? And it's just like, because I've been dead inside for so long, because my emotions are so, I've like had to kill my emotions off for like from 6 right the way through to my mid-30s, you know, like that emotional regulation is dead. I'm having to like, it's like a little spark. I'm having to try and reignite to get the smoldering embers going again, you know. And it's like, I cannot show you that because it does not exist to the level that you're used to. You know, give me 20 years, I might get there, but it's really difficult because, you know, I'm you know, coming up to what you classify as halfway through your a semi-expected lifespan, and it's like I'm only just starting to learn how emotions work. You know, it's kind of nuts. No, yeah, it's just it's a hard one for me. But yeah, trying to feel emotions is something I'm doing. But man, it's mental because I don't do it well enough yet. I've not had to, you know.
I don't think a lot of people do though. Like I say this too is, how many people do you know or have seen that never grow past being like a 16-year-old with a 16-year-old mindset? Some people don't self-reflect. They never will. And they'll never regulate their emotions. You'll have 50-year-olds going down the street screaming at people. We see TikToks of people like peeing on plane aisles. Like, you are already ahead of people double your age, and a lot of them. So I would applaud yourself for that, because some people will never get there. So I think you're right on track. Not that you should rush yourself at all. But yeah, any comments, Trav?
Yeah, I mean, I tell people this all the time. I wish I could cry more. I don't, and it's not like I don't try, you know, it's not for lack of trying. You know, I've you know, you watch a sad thing, I get the lump, but I don't shed tears, and I don't know, like, if that counts, you know, depending on who you ask, I suppose. But releasing those emotions, like you said, or feeling them can be very different for each person, right? My go-to a lot of the time is music. That's usually the thing that I go to. I can either, whether I'm playing it or just listening to it, like I can like really get out a lot of feelings that way. And sometimes it's a grieving feeling. Sometimes it's a mixture of feelings, because 2 feelings can exist at once, or even 3, maybe more, right? It's hard to focus on more than like 2 at a time, but it becomes this kind of way of you creating what is my specific tool for this feeling. If you're an angry if you've got an angry feeling, and you're like, I just need to, you know, I just got to break stuff. You know, we can go and listen to really heavy music if that's what helps you, or maybe you got to listen to calming music in that scenario. It varies per person, and I really like how I really like that exploration process for not only my clients but for me as well, just to like learn, like, oh well, if I'm feeling that way, what do I got to do to kind of handle that in a healthy way that doesn't create, you know, too much dependency on people who might not be able to be there, right? Like, because people have lives, so like, it's like, oh well, maybe I want to talk to somebody. It's like, well, you know, maybe they're at work, or they're busy, or they're sleeping. Like, because sometimes these feelings hit late at night. We all know that, right? So yeah, it's that exploration process and finding what works for you individually is probably why they don't really say like how to feel those emotions online, because it's so individualized for each person. Like the way that you said, sit there, silence, that would drive me mad, right? Like it would just go bonkers. So I have to have like at least some background noise, or I have to like be doing something. Like I'm gonna go on a walk with the dog and kind of do what I got to do to feel these emotions, right? I got to be doing something. So that's for me though. Mm-hmm. And every person is so different, and I like learning about people's different things. So it's like, wow, that would like, that's so foreign to me, but such a cool idea. I like it a lot.
Yeah. And that's a good one that Sirius just posted too, the feelings wheel. I'm familiar with this without even looking at it. So they're typical feelings like angry, sad, mad, and then expand upon that and see what other emotions there are that are more in depth, that are more descriptive to specifically what you were going through is a very, very good one, Sirius.
I think that's why I wanted to post that, because a lot of the time when people are like feeling, it's something I use in my learners, because a lot of them it's a really trauma informed program. It's a program I designed myself to work with the learners, because they come into education, they're not ready for education yet. A lot of them being out, they have anger issues, and we thought, oh, we're missing something here, so let's create a program that is vocational, but also it focuses on the learner, what we need to them to understand themselves. And a lot of them are coming in, and it's anger. And we do, every so often, we do emotional intelligence workshops. And we'll literally have that. If anyone in chat hasn't got it, I would say click that link and just have a little look at the feelings wheel, because we'll look at anger, and it'd be like, well, why do you feel angry? And it's, my parents said they were disappointed in me today, or I feel like I've let some down. And it's like, okay, so let's highlight let down. Let's see what that breaks into. And one of the big things we did was we highlighted the anger part of it. And then we went through like the main 6 of the subcategories, that the most common 6 that make you feel angry. And then you look outside of that, and there's like 8, 9, 10 other things and it's like, it's so easy to go to the number 1, anger, than to focus on the other 12, 13, 14, 15 possibilities of what leads to anger. And it's about, if you can understand what made you angry. Oh, you feel let down. Why have you felt let down? Oh, because I was disrespected. Who disrespected you? How did they disrespect you? And it's just like, if you can reflect on the why, you will find out very quickly that anger you get, your fuse will go from this to a mile long, and eventually that fuse it won't even be lit before you'll have such a wide tolerance. You'll be able to sit down and just be, oh, I feel disappointed, so when I go home I can do this, or I can counter this by this, rather than just default bang straight to anger. And then it's equally as important to focus on happy, self-reflect. Well, why are you feeling happy today? Oh, I'm really proud I achieved this today, which I've not done before. That's amazing. How does that make you feel? Oh, I feel like I'm way more confident in what I do now. And why is that important? It's like, oh, if I'm confident, then I can inspire the people around me. It's good for if I want to go get a job to be confident. I can do this, do that. And it's like, it's really, really good to focus on. We look at, because anger and happy are directly from each other on the chart. Everything has an opposite. And if you're focusing on one side of it, you've got to look at the other side, because you've got to have it's a seesaw. You've got to make sure you look at both. Otherwise, people will simply focus on one too much. But that's like, say, 16 to 19 I'm working with. But that wheel I use as well, because a lot of the time, because I don't understand my emotions, it's, oh, I'm sad. Why am I sad? But then I'll look at the subsection, and it's like, well, none of those are that. I'm actually sad because I'm happy, but I'm showing I'm crying because I'm happy, which is coming out as sad. And you learn that they all actually overlap and they blend, and it's really fucking confusing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so yeah, it's just like,
good point.
It's kind of crazy. But I just want to throw that out there for people out there that don't really understand their emotions a lot. That chart is great. It's really good. Even if you've got kids as well and they're pissing you off because they're doing your head in, you're feeling really grumpy, you can use it to help with your kids understand where they're coming from, whatever you want.
The amount of feelings wheels I've given to parents, like, it's, I love what you say there. Like, you can break it down further, and the beauty of it all being a wheel is it's all connected. So, like, while it might take a weird path to get there, you might be feeling this sort of way, like you said. Well, I'm actually really happy, but it's being expressed in what's considered a sad emotion, right? By crying. I love the world of just like exploring those feelings, and like when you were just describing a kid who was like feeling confident, I was like, yeah, like I was like getting excited because I was like, yeah, that kid's like healing, like. So can I ask you a question, Sirius? Do you generally work with a lot of boys?
Yeah, but I find a lot of the worst behaviors are in girls. Like the expulsion rate from school, most of them are female. When it comes to anger and violence, male. So it depends what side we're looking at. But my group has been predominantly boys, but I'm now starting to get a lot more girls filter in because they're like, hey, I want to do mechanics. Hey, look, there's a course for this now that exists. I'm gonna go and do it. Whereas before there was nothing. There was no provision, so it was just boys. It's also the nature of the sector, I guess. It's a very male-dominated environment, motor vehicle, as is construction. So when it comes to men and women and kind of everyone in between, it's predominantly boys, but I think that's just the nature of the beast where I work.
Yeah, what I've noticed is when it comes to specifically violence, is boys are outward with their violence and girls are generally more inward. Like the self-harm rates and stuff like that is a lot higher in girls versus like boys who are just like, well, I'm gonna go kick the shit out of that person for no reason. It's like, well, there's a reason, but yeah, okay. Or hitting walls, which like I have to tell these kids, I'm like, these walls are gonna win 90 some odd percent of the time. Like you could try. I don't recommend it because like at the school, like the balls are bricks, like I don't recommend it, but so I think there's there's that wide range of behaviors that you're seeing. Yeah, because it's the same way. Like with any of the girl clients I have, we have to like approach it in such a different way. Not only based on like the violence, but like their certain behaviors or their I would say like the suspension rate for dudes is so high. Like the dudes get suspended all the time, but it's like two mistakes and the girls are like cut. And it's kind of wild to me just to like know that you're also working with these students. And I'm happy that you're doing it. That just like when you were describing that one kid feeling confident, I was getting all excited. So
I can't relate to that because I don't work with children. So I'm glad you guys have that in common, though. Pulling back one thing before we move on to some other stuff you mentioned is talking to your inner child, too. Talk to your inner child and comfort yourself like a friend was going to be comforting you. So if there's some comments that have been going around in chat. So if you're saying like, oh, I should have done this, I could have done this, shoulds and coulds are terrible. You do the best you can with what you have in that moment. Emotions count. Like if you are feeling emotionally charged, like all of that stuff is okay. So talking to your inner child and being like, look, I understand you're upset. You have every right to be upset. You just need to go through this. Everything is going to be okay. What would you tell your best friend or a family member in the moment of whatever you're experiencing? That's how you should be talking to yourself. If you feel yourself really beating up on yourself and being sad, talk to yourself like that. If you were talking to somebody else, what would you say? I think that's very important. Now, something that really resonates with me that got thrown around in chat is a lot of you are saying that you don't cry enough or that you cry too much. Compared to whom? Who would you like to compare yourself to? Because everybody is different. So what standard are you trying to hold yourself into? What is normal and for what situations? So you can cry at a different level depending on what triggers you. Some things may trigger you and not. I use this as I've had a lot of people pass away. I've had people commit suicide. I have had people get murdered in my life. And dealing with that, I do not react to people dying. I do not like funerals. I do not have those sad emotions unless it's sitting. Sometimes if it's right in my face at the time, I might have a tear or two, but generally I'm very held back from things like that. And that's okay. That's just my reaction to it. I absolutely feel sad. I process my grief. It's just I don't need to do so in the same way as everybody else. So I'm going to bring back that window of tolerance as well quickly, is if you feel like you cry too much, something may have triggered you that has triggered you multiple times in the past, and it's not all dealt with. So it's your body trying to let it go. If you find yourself crying from the same thing all the time, maybe you need to get that out. Go seek therapy. Go start exploring and figuring out why you get so emotional from that one thing happening. Comments on that. That's the best advice I can give to that coming up in chat.
Trav, do you want to go first this time?
Sure. I was just thinking of I do like the idea of like when people are saying too much or not enough type of stuff. When I said that earlier, I know that I want to cry more. Like, that's the standard I want to hold myself to. Like, I want to be able to do that. So I'm not holding it against, like, say, my partner who cries a lot. And it's usually like 1 or 2 tears, but like it's like she cries a lot, and it's not a bad thing. That's how she processes. That's how things go. Almost any extreme emotion, right? So I'm not comparing myself to her, because that's like almost impossible in my mind, right? But for me, I want to do that more. I like the where also just keeping in mind the autonomic nervous system. It does it itself, right? And it's a reaction. It's your body doing a reaction to something. And like you said, it's like maybe you got to figure out what's making you cry all the time, if it is specifically that thing. And it's just your body's reaction. It's not meant to be shamed, although there could be a force in your life or something that's happened in your life that it has been shamed in the past. You know, I'm sure Sirius could relate to this, like boys don't cry, right? Mm-hmm. No matter, you could have a busted leg right in half, like don't cry, right? Don't do it. And those are really very common things for a lot of people. Is it's just an automatic reaction. What are you going to do about it? Versus, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be doing this. I could be doing something else. It's like, well, those are both, you know, not untrue statements, but they could also be kind of damaging in the way that your self-talk, and that second point you made of self-talk just being so important. Yeah, absolutely. Your self-talk weirdly sometimes can become the symptomology in a way. If I'm constantly putting myself down, then I'm going to constantly feel down, and that's going to turn into more of like a depressive episode or something along those lines. So definitely, a very common thing is I will call people out on their self-talk. Not just the kids that I work with, but like even people in my life. I'm just like, let's be nice to ourselves, huh? Like, you made a mistake, or you know, whatever happened, and like let's be nice about it, and maybe give ourselves some kindness and forgiveness for whatever happened. Patience, a lot of things like that.
Mm-hmm. Any comments, Sirius?
Yeah, so I feel like I know you said about you can't compare. Oh, this person cries a lot. Why don't I? Or I don't cry because. And I just reading chat about I put in there about crying is important, but then what you said about as long as you're taking time to process your emotions, you don't. Some people just won't cry. You know what I mean? Hey, what if you don't have tear ducts? You know, you wouldn't be able to physically cry if we look at it from a physical aspect, but you can still process things mentally to deal with the situations. I know there's other coping mechanisms out there. I mean, I will be very sincere, and I'll listen to people's problems, and I'll be very empathetic, and I'll support them. I have ADHD. I'm on the spectrum, so I have a massive issue with a barrier. So I tend to, there's no filter for me, and it gets me in trouble a lot. But then people that know me they know I don't mean harm by stuff. Stuff just comes out without me. I'm very quite quick and sharp-witted to come back. People say something to me, like, bang, straight away. And you get a lot of envy from people. Like, how'd you come back that quick about things? And it's like, well, it's a double-edged sword, because I have gallows humor. I process everything, a lot of like serious topics through humor, because it's a coping mechanism. There's a very cancer is a really important subject. It's incredibly touchy for many people. Every single person in my family that has died to date has died from cancer. But I will joke about it because it's a coping mechanism for me. But there's a time and a place for gallows humor. And it's a case of I going to my workplace. This was last year, and everyone looked really miserable. And I just went in there and went, "All right, who's got cancer?" Just as a joke. And then one of my colleagues went, "Well, actually, and then it kind of dropped." But then he did laugh, and he went, "It's fine. Like, we know you. This is how you process stuff. You come into a very tense environment. It's disrupting your routine when you normally come in, and it's kind of settled. And then you get it, and it's situational." But then I feel like a bit of a knob, because I'm like, oh, shit. And I start laughing because it puts me off on the back foot. I'm like, oh shit, I'm so fucking sorry. But it's like, I'm not laughing at that person. I'm laughing at how ridiculous what I just said was, just coming out with that. You know what I mean? And it's like, again, it's different people process things in different way. Gallows humor is a massive thing for me because I can't really explain why. To be fair, a lot of stuff doesn't get to me, and I like to joke about the negative stuff because, I mean, there's so much doom and gloom around the world, and we know the only things that are inevitable in life are death and taxes, as the very famous saying goes. So I joke about things like death and taxes because what else are you going to do? But yeah, it is situational. I process a lot of stuff through humor, and people are like, "Oh my god, you're really insensitive because you're joking about it." And it's like, well, actually, I'm joking about it, but in my mind, I'm really processing how hard that must be for you, and a way that I can then sit down and have a conversation with you about it that's meaningful. Because if I try and have a conversation now, all that's going on in my brain is like there's no focus. It's all cloudy and muggy because that's what ADHD brain is like. I've got negative stuff going on in my brain 1,000 times a second, 24 hours a day. It's hard for me to process stuff. So that's when gallows humor deals with it. And it's just I suppose kind of like go around in circles with a lot of this that's how I deal with stuff. But it doesn't mean I don't care and I'm not being I'm discrediting your feelings and emotions. I need to do that to process it so I can then sit down with you to deal with it, to support you. But again, I'm not going to go up to a stranger and do it because I'm probably going to get punched in the face or stabbed. You know what I mean? It's situational. You need to know people before you go and do it.
Yeah.
I process through humor. I struggle with that kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, and we have a lot of people in chat, and this is another reason I wanted to do this, is we have a lot of people that have ADHD or autism and struggle with other things, and I think it's really important to back to that, getting curious, is if you see someone reacting a certain way or doing something a certain way, instead of this cancel culture of, oh my god, I can't believe he said that, I hate him now, it's, well, where is that coming from? Like, what does that come from? And maybe saying like someone else has different coping things, some people act different ways than you do, and if we don't understand it, we can get curious about it instead of jumping down people's throats and assuming they're an asshole or whatever term you would like to use. So that's really important too, and understanding that there are people on spectrums and things like that struggle. So be kind to one another. Somebody said something in chat that really resonates with me that I used to say all the time. Life broke me and I wonder when it will stop. I think a lot of people go through a lot of very difficult things and we do not see what other people go through. Like, until this moment, I mean, guys, we just learned so much about each other and things we have in common and what we've been through in our life, and we had no idea before this stream. Life for me has been very difficult. I have gone through, there's very few things I have not been through, even before I was even done high school. Bullying, death, sickness, car accidents, anxiety, abuse. It keeps going and it's still going. And I don't think life's going to get any easier with challenges. And why that is, I think that's a very personal thing, and I don't think anyone ever really has an answer to that. There's a lot of speculation about why that is, but you got to resonate in the good moments, make as many good moments as you can, and see what you're bringing out of it. Like I am sitting here helping as many people as I possibly can with everything that I've learned, all of the knowledge that I have from everything that I've been through, and the strength that I have. And I have no idea what life has to hold for me. I have no idea what the next 30 years are going to bring in my life, and what I may have learned from some of these things. So if you're ever feeling down, it's a lot, and it's okay to feel like it's a lot, and you're not alone going through that. But don't be too hard and get caught in that, because you're doing amazing. You're still here. You're getting through it. You're learning. So don't stop and keep going. I want to make that very, very, very clear. Just don't give up hope that things are going to be good, and concentrate on those good things. I say if you're going to have a cup of coffee, you have the best damn cup of coffee you can that morning. Sing to that fucking cup of coffee and enjoy those little things. But yeah, I wish I had more to say about that, because it really resonates with those feelings for me. But comments.
The biggest trigger is you're going through something, people are like, it'll be okay. It's like, fuck you. Like, fuck you. No, it won't be okay. I wouldn't be fucking feeling like this right now. No, it won't. It's like, be constructive, Give me some support. Give me some guidance somewhere with somebody that could potentially support me. It's like, it'll be okay. Fuck you. Sorry. I had to get that out because it's such a go-to for people. It's like, things could be worse. Oh, it'll be okay. That's sympathetic. I hate sympathy. Sympathy is just such a unhealthy. People might disagree. I believe in empathy, not sympathy. I cannot stand sympathy. It absolutely drives me bananas. But yeah, it's probably another topic for another time, maybe.
It's both have their place, I think. Just say, like, at a bad day. Sorry, man. Sorry to hear that. Like, that's sympathy, right? Like, that could be like. I'm not saying, oh, it'll get better. Because it's like, yeah, I fucking know that. Like, of course I know it's going to get better. Like, tomorrow's another day. I'll be fine. I know that. Like, deep down, I know that. But right now, I want to feel shitty. Like, let me feel shitty, right? Like that. I think both have their place. But I'm kind of with you. Like, I know, like it could be worse. I know. I could be stranded in the middle of the Pacific Ocean right now. Like, I know it could be worse.
I hate that one too.
But it's like, duh. But let me feel shitty right now, and I will work and do my stuff to kind of get over it. And I think it usually comes from a well-intentioned place. I don't think anyone's out there using sympathy to like make you feel shitty. Like,
it's a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
My camera keeps freezing. My apologies as well.
Because you're way over there.
Strike camera. I'm trying to like change the way that people phrase questions. Like, if somebody says, "Oh, this happened in my life," or it's like, "Oh, my dog died," or "I'm having a really shit day," and one of the quick go-tos is, "I'm really sorry to hear that," and it's just like, and I get that's such a thing for people, and people say that to me, and my instant response to them is, "Well, why are you sorry? Did you do it?" And it really catches people off guard because, like, what I'm almost want to hear is when someone says, "Oh, I'm having a really shit time," or "My X or Y died," or "This happened." Rather than saying, "I'm sorry to hear that," it's just that rephrasing it. That must be really difficult. Is there anything that you'd like from me? I'm here for you. So rather than being like, "I'm sorry," and that's that instant like undercut for me. I mean, again, everyone hears it differently. I can't stand it. It's just one of the things for me is. It's man, that really sucks. It must be really hard for you, but I'm here for you. And just switching "I'm sorry" for "I'm here for you" would be such an incredible turning point for humanity if everyone could just do that. But yeah, it's not going to happen overnight.
I feel like part of that too is it's hard to have other people because they see things so differently know that that's a trigger thing for you. So it's like communicating that you don't like that to people. It's hard when it's random people because I feel like that's a bumper phrase that people throw out there a lot of the time, and it's unpersonal. And it's hard to tell everybody that, so it's more communicating them. No, I would just want to vent. I just want to feel shitty and telling them that, and sometimes communicating that to them can change how they react. Sometimes I don't like hearing, "Oh, I'm so sorry for you." I very much appreciate when people are just like, "Oh shit, you went through that." Yep. And it's like, move along and have a discussion about that. I appreciate those more so because it's just like an instant understanding from someone. But yeah, I think it's hard to expect people to react certain ways, especially when we have all those like bumper phrases on things. But yeah, interesting points. We did have someone say a big topic that I just don't want to overlook before we keep going to is a lot of people were saying on your topic of boys and men shouldn't be crying, and that they get stereotyped as acting out. Do you guys have comments on that as well?
God, don't be such a pansy. Don't be such a woman. That's a woman thing to do. You
pussy.
Should suck it up and get on with it. Yeah, pussy. Yeah, fucking beat the shit out of you. Oh man, yeah. Many years of that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Especially if you were in sports. I played both like football and baseball. Like, oh my god, the amount of like slurs that you get caught. Like if you even show any shred of emotion that isn't anger. Anger's acceptable. Anger's okay. But like if it's like sadness or even disappointment, like bases loaded, you strike out, like I'm gonna be a little sad about it. Like, damn it, I really had an opportunity and I blew it. That sucks. I'm disappointed, right? But if I like shed a tear or like put my head down, it's like it's constant. It's constant. And I love recently it's been basketball and hockey, the NHL and NBA, both have had like players like step away from the game for a while to like fix mental health stuff. I love that. I love that, just like normalizing, like I'm a professional athlete. I'm getting paid millions to go play a game, but I like my mental's not right, and I'm gonna go fix that. And I love the fact that these people are like open about it, not like going through like, well, you know, all this thing happened and they're putting it in some open letter, but like very like just normalizing that kind of thing. But yeah, I know you heard it a lot. I mean, you literally got sent to a boys' school. You said like it was constant growing up. It was constant, just you know, don't cry, don't be a pussy. Like you get like legitimately hurt. You know, like
yeah.
Like I got like I remember like bashing my head and I had like this big old like scrape on my head, and like I landed on like the sidewalk and I was crying, and like one of my friends was like, "Come on, man, like don't be a pussy, like just go to the nurse." And I'm like, I think I have a concussion. Like, I have a fucking brain bruise right now. What's wrong with you? You know?
Thanks for your help.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah, that makes you a man. Battle the wounds, suck it up. You know, it's a huge thing. I mean, I'm hoping the dynamic in, especially in the UK private sector's changed. I mean, I think a lot of the old boys, when I was there, teachers were still abusing kids, from throwing things at them, twisting their ears, slapping them across the head. Caning was still there, but they caned on wrists. And knuckles. You know, there was a lot of the disciplinary stuff they gave you would be seen as just outright abuse now. Like you just, if anyone tried to do that to any child this day and age, you would be in court and then be serving a sentence. So I'm really hoping that dynamics change. There's obviously going to be things. I still think like places like Eton, Oxford, Cambridge, there's still a lot of hazing, there's still a lot of things going on there that is overlooked because it's the rich lead the poor. People get over there on scholarships, and if you've got a family that's rich, they will literally get away with anything because cash is king, you know. So there's definitely, you know, look at where politicians are in countries. A lot of them have come through private sector, and look how what they're still like, you know. And it really does speak wonders. But I'm hoping everything is shifting in a much more positive way, where this toxic level of you know, the whole masculinity thing is going, where men will be treated. Actually, you can, you know, share your emotion. You can be the stay-at-home like dad if you want. You don't have to go into this industry. You don't have to do this. And it's slowly shifting. It's going to take a long time, but it is moving that way. And I kind of hoping that, you know, there's less kids going through life that are mentally scarred and like repressive of their issues compared to I mean, I was born in '86. You know, this stuff was kind of still pretty bad back then. I'm really hoping it's gone.
This is maybe just a question for the European side of things. Do you feel like because of like the old school kind of dominance of like overarching culture that's there, like has it changed like kind of on the same rate as like the rest of the world? Is it like behind? Is it ahead? Kind of somewhere in average? Because like I'm sitting here with like painted nails and long hair in a woman-dominated field, you know?
Yeah.
So like that's shifted obviously from my perspective in a lot of ways, but I know that in different areas even in America, like I get called the F slur. I got called the F slur like last weekend.
I think in education it is. I mean, if anything, it's become so heavily saturated that you've almost got like a direct polar opposite, whereas you've been told now not to show emotion, to suck it up and get on with it too. There's all these genders, there's all these sexual preferences, there's all of these options, and now rather than going to men are men, women are women, it's now you can be whatever you want, and it's almost a point that I think you've got a lot of young kids that they just need to go through and enjoy their childhood and just figure themselves out to, you could have this, you could have this, you could do this, and we polar opposite problem now, because now we've got kids that are so confused with who they are, what they want, you know, and it's a difficult one, you know, like where is the line? What do you have to do? So I think we've embraced a lot of cultural change. LGBTQIA plus, the trans community and everything like that is really, really big in school, but it's so big in school now. I feel like people don't know how to manage their emotions on a whole different level. It's not you're repressing it; it's the fact that you don't know how to control it because you've been told to let everything out, which equally isn't healthy. You know, you need to learn that boundary of, you know, not oversharing. And, you know, if you've got someone going through school, you need to grow up. And it's like, oh, I am, you know, it doesn't really matter if I'm a boy or a girl. It's just like, I am young. I have a childhood. I'm going to enjoy my childhood. I'm then going to figure out if I like boys, if I like girls, if I, you know, like anything in between. And I feel like there's so much like we're pushing stuff on people now. Again, this is a whole topic for another day, but there's more confusion now. Before is you're not allowed to feel. Now it's there's too much to feel.
My experience just working in schools has been there's a sense of belonging, and like I mean I feel like it's a very fairly universal thing where kids just want something to belong to. Like any sort of outcasting is awful. It feels like shit, and we all know that, right? Like we all know that like being outcasted from any sort of group feels like shit, and so this kind of very big emphasis on acceptance of who you are and what you like and et cetera, et cetera. And while it can be confusing, it's also like we're also learning that we're just looking for something to belong to. And we all experimented, you know, we all like figured out like, well, maybe that's what I like now. Well, no, not so much, you know, whatever it is. Whether that's like in the sexuality or gender realm at all, it's you find out what you like, what you don't like. At least that's how it's been. And what's cool about like this specific panel here is we actually all grew up in like different areas, and I think that's actually kind of cool too. I know that like American culture tends to kind of like influence a bunch of shit, but also like there's like some hardcore like, no, like that's a Canadian value or that's a British value.
That's interesting. By the way, before I continue, if you guys want to dip out at any time, please say so, because we never said how long we were going, so we can always make a part 2 if anyone wants to dip out.
I'm out.
Time frame. Yeah, I just want to make that clear because I did get stuck on like an 8-hour stream once when we didn't clarify timelines. So just
if anyone's hungry,
just whenever it's your turn, be like, I'm just gonna say this and then I'm gonna dip out and get food. Just feel free to say something or make up an excuse and leave. But what's it called? As far as like gender roles and stuff like that, I always grew up a very tomboy. I have the side of my head shaved. I very much have always broken norms. Now I came across a psychologist recently. I forget his name, but I can try and look it up after, who has a very interesting theory. So a lot of emotions come from hormones, which is testosterone and estrogen and things like that. Now, males and females have both of these, and they can affect your body in so many ways. So a lot of the time, this leadership roles that come, this the aggression, the confidence, a lot of these things come from testosterone. Like it pushes you and moves you to do things. And then the estrogen is the softer side, very emotional, and empathetic. Like if you're regulating your hormones properly, both males and females should have both. You should be able to go in between both energies. And sometimes you can get really stuck in one, or people think that one of those is the only one that's acceptable. It's not. There are all different types of males and females, and now there's genders in between as well in the LGBTQ plus communities and things like that. And it's not forcing someone into a box and things like that, but it's also not putting someone in a box that they have to feel a certain way or react a certain way, or that they're too emotional. Like that all has to do with that as well, and the other things that we were talking about. So I think this is very much a societal thing. One of my favorite things is, okay, society, so everyone's doing this, so what? So everyone's going out to the bar and sleeping with each other every single night. Does that mean you have to? No. Everyone's saying that boys have to be like this, girls have to be like this. Does that mean you have to? No. Society's wrong a lot of the time. Society does very terrible things sometimes. So just because everybody else is doing something or telling you have to do something, even if you're one person against 100, you might be right. So just remember that as well, and to do things that you kind of want to do.
you're right for you.
Yeah.
Do like at the end of the day, and this is another therapist thing that I went through because therapists go to therapy. We there's no rules to life. Like, you can sit down in the shower. Who's going to tell you no? You know, you can run the dishwasher twice. You can wear your sunglasses at night. Like, there are no like rules to how you want to live your life. There are consequences for all actions. The consequences don't stop. But whether those consequences are your legs fall asleep because you're sitting in the shower, or, you know, you run someone over with your car, like there's very different consequences for those types of things. And so I like the idea of very unlearning a lot of those societal norms and mores to figure out, okay, no, I can have painted nails, I can wear jewelry, I can do whatever I want, I can wear turtlenecks if I want to.
100% agree with that. Sirius?
Yeah, I'm under one of these things that in Britain we have British values. We have 4 key values. One is like individual liberty, respect and tolerance for other people's beliefs. You got democracy, and rule of law, like living your life by the law. So one of the really big values, a part of that is that respect and tolerance for other people's beliefs. And it's like, you know what? If those people over there want to be a gay lesbian couple, whatever. If those people over there are transgender, whatever. I don't care. We are all human. We all have blood. We all have the same color blood underneath. Unless you're, you know, like reptilians disguising human bodies. But yeah, apart from that, I'm joking, by the way. I'm not one of those people. But yeah, it doesn't matter if you don't like something. Yeah, like you don't have to agree with everybody's choices. You don't have to be on side. It's fine to disagree. It's fine, even if like internally you want to be against something. But you have to still respect people's choices. You don't have to like it in order to respect it. And that's one of like the big things. It's like people say, "Oh, free speech. I can say what I want." That's not what free speech is. Free speech means you're entitled to have an opinion on something. That's fine, but it doesn't mean that you can actively go out and start spouting hatred and negative and outdated thoughts and feelings and opinions on subjects. That is not free speech. That's called being a bellend at the end of the day. They're very different things, and it's trying to separate out free speech from being an asshole. And people always go, "Oh, it's free speech," because they have no concept of what free speech actually is. And it's a big problem over here, as much as I'm sure it is in America and lots of other places in the world. I'm sure it's it's like a ubiquitous thing, is everyone probably gets it wrong. But it's like, you know, at work, you know, we got students and staff they're gay, they're lesbian, they're transgender, they're pre or post-op transgen. I've got gender fluids there, we've got gender neutrals, it's all there. It's like, that's great, you guys do you, fair enough. I have to work my ass off trying to figure out if you are a he, a she, a they, a them. Do I talk to your mum as you are her and she? Do I talk to your dad because they don't know, or they know, so they're they, them? It's a minefield. It's a real pain in my ass. It's just being honest with you. However, I absolutely respect everybody's choices. You are a human, you can feel what you feel, you can love who you love, you can do what the hell you want within a legal respect of tolerance. But yeah, you have to respect people's choices, is all I come from. You know, I think everyone is entitled to be who they want to be. To a degree, I think it has to sit within the human genome. People identifying as a dolphin or whatever, I've got a problem with things like that. But within the human genome and within people's choices, I respect all of it, because you are free. You have your individual liberty. You have, you have to be tolerant and respectful of other people's choices. So I'm very much, I guess like a fencer in a way, you know, but I'm out for everybody. I respect everybody and everybody's choices and beliefs. It doesn't mean I have to be on board with them all, but I will respect everybody. I think that's the bottom line. I think everybody needs to kind of fall certainly within that circle as a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that tackles that subject or whether I just waffle on about.
No, you're making excellent points. I'm trying not to cut you off. If there's a second of silence, that's all. I just want to make sure you're done. But no, you're making excellent points there, Sirius. And I know chat's resonating with a lot of it as well. There was a comment that just came up. How do you self-express yourself, especially in this area, and not fear for your safety? Okay, so this is something hard to deal with society. So I used to work in a dress salon, and we would have some men come in who would like to dress in dresses, and and were really reserved, and we welcomed them with open arms there and allowed them to be in the change room and encouraged them to come out and have an experience of trying on ball gowns and dresses and really feeling like them genuine selves. I've had tears. I've had people cry and be like, I've never experienced anything like this in my life. Even as far as just opening a door for someone who's trans and smiling at them has been overwhelming in my presence. So things like that, there are kind people who are accepting of you. Dealing with the people who are unaccepting. I don't have an answer for how to deal with people who hate, other than trying to not take it personally, but there is real dangers out there. I know, especially in other countries, that there are people who are still being murdered and killed. And this is something I think is very personal. I'll let you guys maybe answer this more than me, because I don't have an answer for it. But I did want to say religion got brought up as well. And I'm extremely Catholic. I am very spiritual Catholic. And in saying that, I've talked about this in chat before. Did you know that everyone seems to put this giant stigma on not being gay? However, abusing your partner is much bigger of a sin than it is to be gay, and it says that in the Catechism and in the Bible. But we don't seem to put a very big emphasis on that. So if people really want to judge people on a single thing, this is not their journey. It's not their struggle that they were put on earth to deal with. So why are you delving in someone else's business? We don't know what's right or what's wrong, or how heavily someone is going to weigh something. There so much is speculation and translations in a book. When it really comes down to it, you can't follow half of something, and it's supposed to be treating other people the way you want to be treated, and that's from every religion on the planet. So if you really think that someone wants you, or that God wants you to sit there screaming at someone over who they choose to be, that's not what it's supposed to be at all. So you can exist in the church and be LGBTQ. You can, you should be accepted regardless of what you choose to believe in. And if anyone wants to hate on you for that, they are in the wrong. And I want you to know that, and that you can be spiritual and still have those beliefs. And it's not right that they do that at all, because a real religious person would want to show you love and support you in whatever you have to go through in life and whoever you are. And it's not right to hate people like that. So I just want to point that out, because I think it's very important. But if you guys want to speak to the safety thing, I'm not sure how to make someone feel more safe. I
think it's a situational thing, isn't it? I mean, you've got different levels of I have this belief. I will challenge anyone that challenges me, and I'm willing to die for it. And that is the extreme line of standing up for your belief. You're that. I can't remember the scale. It's part of like the EDI scale. There's like a 10-point scale of where you sit. If you go to a rally to protest something, it's because you believe in something. But then the only one up from that is, would you die for that belief? Would you fight for it? Like fighting for your freedom. It's a massive scale. So the situational awareness would be play it by ear. If you're in an environment and you feel safe, openly speak about, be who you are, like vocalize what you believe in. That's fine. If you're in an environment where it's a 50-50 shot, or whether you feel like it wouldn't be sensible to do that, it's fine to mask. It's fine to put a barrier up and just be like, to feel the vibe of the room and to go with it, and just maybe not put yourself in the harmful situation. It depends how much you value what you are standing up for, and that is a completely individualized, specific level. It's like the whole optimist, realist, pessimist view. Optimist, everyone will get on board. This will be accepted by everyone. This is the what's it called? Like the perfect the situation. You got the pessimist. There's no hope. No one's ever going to accept everyone. We're all fucked. And then you got the realist, which is situational. It's fine to be myself, to fight for these values here, but it's not sensible to do it here. People will accept who I am here if I vocalize who I am here. And you gotta play that game. You gotta be able to read the situation. But again, are you happy to? Oh, that's a lovely freeze frame I got on my camera there. Are you willing to fight and die for what you believe in, or are you able to switch it on and off depending on the situation to just exist and to be happy within yourself? And that's up to you. I mean, that's all I've got. I'm sure there's other views on it, but I'm very much I'm a realist. You've got to be situational. it's never going to be a globally accepted thing. It's never going to be a globally hated thing. Play it by ear, you know?
I think that's good advice.
I'm very safety first oriented. I mean, like I would way rather you be safe in a situation than run in guns blazing for something that could possibly get you hurt or get you outcasted or worse, killed. Like, because like that's a thing that has happened and continues to happen to this day, lynchings and things like that, which is fucking asinine that I'm still even thinking about those kinds of things. But those are, I would rather you be safe, and if at all possible, finding those types of communities elsewhere, because there is safety in numbers in a lot of these situations. So if you're able to go and find, whether that's an online community or a other type of community that could be found, that does welcome you and does treat you as an equal and does treat you as safe, and does treat you as an individual as well, to like treat you like yeah, you're welcome here. You can be who you want to be. If you want to go by a different name than what's on your driver's license, then great. Like, let's do that. Those types of things. But safety is always number one, followed by being able to express yourself in a safe way, like you were saying, individually, kind of individual situation wise. And then like the online community is such a big thing too. It's like, because I've kind of like watched this kind of happen, not only on Twitch, but like in other places as well. Like Reddit's a really big one. Say what you will about Reddit, obviously, but it's very, like a lot of people have found like these big communities and like helped somebody who was trans move out of their shit town and get to a place where those types of help was available, like the certain specific doctors and being able to do HRT and things like that. Like those were things that were available to them, but not in their shit little town in, sorry to anybody who's from Kentucky, like, right? Like those are legit things. So there's a lot of different places that can happen. It just needs to be created through those types of communities. Sometimes that's online, sometimes that's in person, sometimes that's just like outside of the city, but obviously depending on your own abilities, whether that's monetary or otherwise, like that can be a big thing, which is why I sometimes can push for the internet communities, with the caveat of keep in mind it's the internet and we have to be able to be safe on the internet as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was very well said. I didn't really have the words for it, but I would agree with that. Even doing small things like you could hide things under your clothes if you really want to. Going out in public if you want to wear a bra underneath like your shirt or something. Sometimes people ain't gonna know. You know what I mean? There's little things like that you can do that you know about that other people don't as well.
Yes, Superman, that shit. Hell yeah,
Superman. There you go, Superman. Some of this stuff, or wear a pair of socks but paint your toenails. Like little things like that that'll bring you joy. You know what I mean? Now this is going to be like, this was mentioned much earlier. This is the last topic I have. So anxiety and PTSD as well. So this is like really swapping topics here. So I come from this. This is what kind of really jump started my mental health journey, was anxiety. Now, I had a very severe thing of anxiety because a lot of the time we fear things that aren't always going to happen or aren't a reality. My anxiety stemmed around food allergies. And my fears are very much real. So if I don't pay attention to my anxieties, I can die. That's something that is a real fear that was very difficult for me to get over, and I got stuck twice in my life. I got to a point where I couldn't eat food with my hands because I was afraid I was going to die. So I've gotten over that, and it was a huge mental challenge to do so, and it's not easy to deal with. There are different types of anxiety. There's not just social anxiety, which I believe is the biggest one that's talked about. There are different types of anxiety that you can go through. Now, ways of coping with anxiety. Now it can affect your whole body. You can have panic attacks to the point where you can't breathe on the floor. It can get very overwhelming. You can cry. You can get angry. Again, your nervous system can break down, like we were mentioning earlier. I also have PTSD from the abuse that I suffered, and I get trembling episodes and things like that. So all things like that, you need to find ways to regulate sometimes. I'll just mention mine and then I'll let you guys take over because you'll probably know more. I started with the Headspace app and the Dare app. This is meditation, kind of like Sirius mentioned earlier. Now meditation, I was like, oh, forget it, meditation. That's taboo, that's stupid. So in going to therapy and using these apps, my biggest thing that clicked in my head was treating your thoughts like clouds or cars. If something comes by and you have a thought or you're starting to panic, if you grab onto that car or that cloud that's moving, it's going to drag you down the street. So you have to take those thoughts and then let them go. And in meditation, that is a practice that they do. You're trying to clear your mind. So thoughts come in, you label them as this positive, negative. What is this thought? What is this feeling? Like your feelings wheel. And then you say, okay, that's what it is. And you let it go. And you let it come back. If the same thought comes back, you just do the same thing again, over and over, as many times as you need to. You don't need to panic. It's still coming back. You just let it go. And as thoughts come and go, you just label them and let them go. And you can do that in meditating. And the more you do it, it gets easier and easier, as well as exercise, food and exercise, getting the hormones out of your body that are making you anxious throughout the day, not just when you feel it. Things like cold and hot on your body, like showers or going outside, as well as anything that's sensory, so like music, things like that, and self-care. So that's really important. If you guys want to talk to some of that, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, because a lot of people brought that up in chat, just so you guys know as well.
Feel free, man.
Oh yeah, you take them feelings, you shove it in a box, you lock it away, and you leave it. You don't even process it. That is what you should do if you're a man watching this stream. All that feeling shit, get the fuck out. No, but in all honesty, all right. So if we look at this, and so I have PTSD, but it's odd because it's not actually from a relationship. So that's the gallows humor there. There we go. Anyway, it's not from a relationship point of view, because it's weird. Even though I've suffered trauma from a relationship, I've not suffered PTSD from it. I just have like some shit memories. I guess you could say it's PTSD, but it's not caused me to be like have trembles or anything significant like that in a relationship. Mine was stemming from a major road traffic accident many years ago, and I've done an open speech about this one. I've done a whole series of streams about it. It's actually why I originally went to therapy, because I thought, man, I'm pretty sure I have PTSD. I can't sleep. I have recurring nightmares, night terrors. I'm medicated for this, that, and the other. And then after the first 2 sessions, it turned out that was the very tip of the iceberg. Actually, there's all this other stuff that caused the PTSD from school and the abuse, the trauma, the stuff we mentioned at the start of the stream. But it was actually kind of it mounting up. We discovered like the rest of the iceberg underneath. But the car crash was the main thing that was kind of the focus of mine. And it's as was it Weather Junkie in chat said about the survivor's guilt. And PTSD, and I've done some work with a Stack Up, a US veteran charity, supporting army veterans with PTSD, suffering trauma, and I did a stream for them, and absolutely amazing charity, bringing families and people back together. And I think suicide awareness is significant, really important to talk about it, and it's one of the big reasons I went to therapy. I was like, you know what, I'm here to support other people. Why am I not doing it for myself? So bang, there we go. The journey kind of like really kick-started. But it's strange because I had survivor's guilt for my car crash, but nobody died. And it was a really complex thing that my therapist said they'd never seen before, because it was through like a level of divine intervention, is how it would be called if you are like a religious person, where at the time of my accident, at that specific time every day, the lady's house that I went over and landed in the garden, because my car got airborne in my car crash basically, and it crashed through a wall. There was a bench there, and the lady always sat at that bench at that exact time of day every day, just to relax in the garden. And she said, and it always gets me choked up, and I still get emotional thinking about it, because I cannot let it go. I've been through therapy for it, and we've just agreed that it's one of those things that I might just have to live with and process, and like accept that's how I feel and move on from it. But she was on the way down to her bench that day, and her phone rang, and she went back, and her sister was on the phone and said, I got a really bad feeling about today, so I wanted to make sure you're all right. And as she was looking outside the window at that time, my car went bang straight through the bench where she would have been sat. And they're a very religious family as well. And it was just that exact moment, very coincidental that happened. And I've suffered with survivor's guilt from that, because even though no one died, without that phone call happening and that extreme intervention happening, I would have killed someone. So I have a problem with PTSD processing the fact that I could have killed somebody, and the only reason it didn't happen was because of some outrageous level of coincidence, which can only be described as a level of divine intervention at that point. You know, somebody phoning up, I got a bad feeling about today, and then bang, it happened. You know, there is no other way of physically explaining that apart from a massive coincidence. So I've got a very specific kind of PTSD survivor's guilt that is virtually unexplainable, because we don't know why it exists, because I didn't take anybody's life. Nobody died. But it was the plausibility and the possibility of it happening, which is why I received therapy from it. But it's just a very interesting one, saying anyone out there with PTSD, whether it's survivor's guilt or whether it's from any trauma that you've suffered, I would highly encourage you to go and seek support from a specialist that can sit down with you and discuss it with you. Look at your past, look at supporting you through it, because the whole, again, big trigger is why people say, oh, it'll be okay. It won't. How? Because your trauma is there. Your trauma is part of you. You are who you are because of your past, and trauma is part of that, whether it's ongoing or it is part of your past. What you do is you work on coping mechanisms to it eases the load of your trauma, so you can move forward from it and it doesn't affect you as much. It's really important to get those coping mechanisms put in place so you can live a good, healthy, fulfilled life. So it doesn't define who you are. It's when you get people going, oh, my past was this, so this is who I am now. No, it's not. You're just not willing to work on yourself and work with people to overcome that, to be a good, like the best person you can be. And I'm a big thing, like anyone out there, again, PTSD, trauma, whatever, if you can, I know it's expensive in a lot of places. A lot of countries offer free services. There's normally free hotlines and free people to support you out there. There is someone for everyone out there, and you can move on from this. Everyone is valued. You're all very special, and you can move on and really live an enriched life. I just encourage everyone to do it, because the way I see it is you cannot compare trauma. It's all very unique to everyone. People might be like, oh, well, my trauma is nothing compared to this person. That has nothing to do with it. Your trauma is significant to you. Theirs is significant to them. Do not compare trauma ever. It's really important never to do that. But yeah, I highly recommend any form of therapy and just connecting with people, to anybody out there, especially if you have suicidal tendencies, especially if you're really prone to self-harm as well. It's super important to do it. So yeah, that's just a bit of my experience to really encouraging everybody out there to move forward with your PTSD and to do something about it. Don't let it consume you. You need to sleep, you need to eat, you need to drink, you need to move forward. Your trauma does not. Your trauma is a relentless pack of wolves that does not need to stop. You do. It doesn't matter how long you outrun it for in your life. You have to stop eventually, and it will be there waiting for you, and it will destroy you. And so it's really important to tame. You can't get rid of the pack of wolves, but you can tame them. And that's the whole point of therapy. So really encourage everyone to kind of get there. That's it.
Yeah, that's really important too. And I resonate with a lot you said there, especially in situations that I've hit recently. Now we posted a couple. I saw Trav posted an open counseling link. I love that if you have states ones. I struggle with this so much. I can never find good places in the United States to recommend to people, because it seems like they're all you have to pay for all of them. So any resources you have, I'd love to grab those off of you. Maybe I have some in Canada. Now Canada, we have a lot here. Yeah, we have a lot in Canada. There is BetterHelp. There is a whole bunch of apps that are free. You can go to a doctor and get a referral to a psychologist or a therapist. There's even one here, provincial. There's a trauma program I went through. You can go to women's shelters. Huge advocate of them as well. They all offer free counseling, 100% free for like at least 10 sessions, not just a single session. So there are a lot of things out there if you guys are looking for something. Now, did you have anything else to say about that too, Trav, before I ask the question from chat?
I mean, that was summed up pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's journey is very individual. Your journey, while all three of us have been in abusive style relationships, yet none of us have like the same exact experience, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody's individual experience is their own, and you, the chat, anybody else who refers to themselves as you, you're important, you matter. And no matter what your brain is telling you, no matter what's going on up here, it's gonna lie. Our brain's purpose is to just kind of keep things happening with electricity, but electricity doesn't really have life in it, so it doesn't really know, right? We, however, have conscious, and we have memories, and we have those thoughts and feelings. So you have the ability to go and find these things to get the help that you need. There is a lot of paid counseling out there. A lot of the free services get bundled up so quickly because obviously they're free services. Anytime you have questions, and this is kind of open invitation, feel free to shoot me DMs. I can send you certain things. There are Open Counseling and iMatter are both here in America. I know that there's stuff that's worldwide. I know that there's stuff that's strictly North America based. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff in the European area as well. So definitely, yeah, same thing. I absolutely encourage getting the help that you need because it's okay. It's okay. All three of us are sitting here with gotten plenty of help. I'm actually a therapist in therapy. I'm sitting on both sides of the room, right? It's very, and it's important because I'm struggling with stuff. The kids are struggling with stuff that I work with. Everybody is struggling. And like you said, that pack of wolves that's there, the therapy is there to help you either tame those wolves, get the tools to fight those wolves, both, all of them. Yeah, absolutely. Mental health matters. We love y'all.
Mm-hmm. So. And that's a good one too. Is I feel like psychology gets you unstuck. So we're really smart, we can navigate our emotions to a certain point, but then sometimes you need that person that just gives you that really good piece of advice and everything just clicks and falls together. That's what it is. It's helping you navigate your own mind. It's okay, so you're saying all of these things, did you consider this? And you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of what it's for and what it's about. So it's really not what people perceive it as on TV and things like that. It's really just kind of like having a friend to point something out, and that might not be obvious to you right away. Go ahead, Trav.
Yeah, sorry. That just reminded me of something else that I was thinking of. When you picture therapy, if you've never done therapy before, and it sounds like a lot of people in chat maybe have, but when you picture therapy, a good 90-some-odd% of the time, it's not some old fuck sitting in an ugly chair while you're sitting on this ugly leather thing that isn't a chair, but it's not a pool chair, but it's not, but it's also ugly. Everything's brownish, and there's books that he probably hasn't read on the shelf. It's not like that, right? It generally the office is clean. I'll say that, right? Generally, but I work with kids, so it's very it is not what your brain is going to tell you what the fear-based reaction is. It is very it's just, sometimes it's just an office, sometimes it's just a room, just a room with a table and some chairs,
or Zoom, this could be your therapist right here, get the therapist that works for you too. Not all of them are going to mesh with you. You're hiring
online
them.
Therapy now.
Yeah, you there's online therapy where you don't even have to go. You can even shut your camera off and not even look at them. And they are very accepting of that, so you can just talk. Now, if a therapist isn't working for you, and I really want to stress this because some do push drugs and things like that on you and don't really give what you need out of the experience, you are hiring them. You can fire them. and find a new one. There are so many people that you can find someone that meshes with you. So if you want someone that jokes around and is gonna be more personable, you can find someone like that, and it might take a little bit of searching to be able to do that. It's you don't have to settle with the one, and if it's not working, recognize it's not working, it's not helping, find something else that's gonna help.
A therapist can work for one issue, and then once that issue is taken care of, you can move on. Because maybe that therapist's specialty is one thing, and the next therapist's specialty is another thing, et cetera, et cetera. You might have to, like, recreating that connection can be definitely hard. And I want to, like, make sure that everybody knows that it could be really hard, especially if you keep finding therapists that's just like, man, like, this is like the third therapist that I've seen. And like this one guy I remember was just like, I remember like going to him and being like, this is what's going on. And he was just like, tell me about your dad. And I'm like, I don't want to do that right now. Like, that had nothing to do with what I was talking about. Like, I don't know, like, where this guy was going with it. So like, fire us for real. Like, you can be nice about it, but like, fire us and like, be like, listen, it's just not something I'm connecting with. It's okay. It's really common, you know, if you're like a male and you can't talk to it's hard to talk to a female about some things. Absolutely. Vice versa. You know, if you're facing trans issues and you want to find a trans therapist, it's going to take longer, but it is worth it. You know, it's not that the other therapist can't understand those issues and can't help you. It's just that if that's what you're going for and that's the connection that you want to create, then absolutely find that and you will.
Yeah, I've had therapists that concentrate on slowing down your life to a slower pace and living very slowly, which doesn't mesh with me because I need to be doing a million things at once. I've had therapists that there are some that are religious aspect, like they're all about religion, and they will concentrate on that to help you. There are trans and very trauma-based therapists, so like very specific to what you're going through. You can really find someone who meshes with you. So I love that. And then one more thing too, we can probably call it soon here, guys. I'll make this one comment, and then if there's a topic you guys want to bring up separately, I'll feel free to do that. So some people are saying they have a really hard time. Meditation doesn't work for them, and some of the things that mentioned. One thing is it depends on what you're going through. So if you're having panic attacks, if the meditation and bringing your thoughts down doesn't work, there's something also called the countdown method, and sometimes it really helps if you're listening to an app do it. But you start counting down from say 30. And you go 29, 28, and you kind of talk to yourself in between it. And by the time you get down to 10, you go really slow. And you say, if by the time I count down from this number, I'm either going to die or I'm going to be okay. And everything's just going to stop. And I'm going to give myself this much time that if I'm going to die and everything's going to be catastrophic and I'm going to stop breathing right here, it's going to happen in these 30 seconds. And as you count down, you'll notice your heart rate starts to slow down a little bit. That is on the DARE app. If anyone would like to try that out, DARE, and it was free when I was using it. So if anyone would like to try that, please do. That's very helpful from talking you down in the moment if it's really, really bad. It is a very nice Irish doctor who talks you through it in that moment. And remember that it's small steps as well. Don't expect to be fixed. Again, I'm going to bring that up. Don't expect that one thing's just going to fix it. It takes practice to build these skills. You're building a toolkit, like we mentioned, and there's going to be waves of good days and bad days. Some days you might feel like you failed a little bit. It's not, because if you have one panic attack, like 29 other days out of that month, you are successful. So if you have one bad day, it's okay. You're doing great the rest of the time as well. So maybe suggestions on anything else that people can do to get over anxiety and PTSD episodes, or if you guys have a different topic, please feel to bring it up as well.
There's a couple of things. Is like so I suffer from social and situational anxiety still. That's partly more from the ASD, but also loud noises I find very overwhelming. Like if there's too many stimuli at once, it kind of like, and I'm not in control of them, it pushes me over the edge. Yeah, the easiest thing to do is I just walk out, remove myself from the situation, take a deep breath, regain my focus, self-regulate, and then go back into that situation. It's really important to get back on that horse after you self-regulate. You can start learning where your limit is and your coping mechanisms, your tolerance for things, and it's never going to go away. But it gets easier. It can get easier with coping mechanisms. So that's the really big thing for me is I don't run away from the situation and abandon it. I go out, self-regulate, return, and then I normally find 9 out of 10 times, 99% of the time, it does not happen again. For the entire evening that I'm there, I just have to get over that one instance. To right, I am here. I know the environment is not in my control, but I can control how I feel within that environment. You know, I don't have to interact with everything. I don't have to respond to everything. I can shut this stuff out, and that is really, really big. And it's kind of like a real mini scale step of mindfulness where you ground yourself. You feel yourself in the environment, the presence. You focus on your breathing. You can focus on just the feel of your feet to your socks, to the pressure on your shoe, to that on the ground. You literally feel yourself in that moment, and it just brings you back into where you are, into reality, and it's a really big thing. The only other one I thought a little bit of a twist on counting backwards in numbers. Start at 10. Go 10, 9, 8, 7, and then start trying to throw a random letter from the alphabet in there. Throw a random letter in the alphabet, and then try and continue counting backwards. A lot of the time, you forget what number you're on as soon as you pick up a letter, because your brain is trying to do an alphanumeric comparison where it's trying to go from 10 to 0. As soon as you throw a letter in there, it doesn't know what the fuck is going on. You're then trying to think about the alphabet, but then you're trying to remember where you were in your 0 to 10. And because of that, completely overwhelms the alphanumeric portion of your brain. That will confuse you so goddamn much. You will forget about what the problem was. And you can literally be like, what the fuck was going on? And you can bring yourself back into the situation and be a lot calmer. It's a really weird one. It doesn't work for everyone, but it is very effective. If people have, I've used it. It'd be like 10, 9, 8, 7... A, Y, T. Was I on 7? Was I on 8? Let's start again. Or you go, and that sudden switch and trying to remember is all you need to reset your panic, because you just don't know what the fuck is going on. It's a really weird one, but it does work. It works for a lot of people.
That's such a thought-stopping CBT thing. Yeah. I was like, wow, that is such hard thought stopping. Just like, all right, I'm gonna stop everything that I'm doing and I'm gonna do this exact task. Yeah. And then it goes back to, all right, now I'm back in reality, and you go, wait, what was I so upset about?
It's that reset button. It's just that big red button. Just fucking reset.
Thought stopping. Legit.
I like it.
Legit for panic attacks especially.
Yeah, when you were talking to, I thought of some others as well. So if you're fearing in public having a panic attack, I have fainted multiple times. I had a problem with fainting. So people would stare at me and ask me if I was okay, and then I'd shake it off and be like, whatever, okay, people are going to stare at me. A lot of the time we fear what people think of us when we're having a panic attack, and it's like, it's okay. People don't really care. They're just going to want to make sure you're okay. You can ask someone for help around you, be like, I'm having a panic attack. Can you help me? They're not going to care at all. Most people are going to want to help you. So don't fear other people's reactions as much. If you look weird, you're never going to see them again. They're not going to remember what you look like or what your car looks like or what you were holding. So try to get over that a little. There's also, I think it's a 3-3-3 method where you like look at 3 things you're in the room. You say 3 things that you can feel, or 3 things like I don't remember exactly what they are. If you guys remember that one.
It's a sensory method.
Yeah.
There's 3-3-3. There's even like 5-4-3-2-1 where you go through all 5 senses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it grounds you a little.
Yeah, it's another thought stopping thing where you are changing everything that you're focusing on and redirecting it into one specific lane. Because generally, when we're like having panic attacks or anxiety, our car is in like 12 different lanes, right? So it's getting it back to one lane. Okay, here I am. All right, I finished the task. Now I can look back up and kind of go, okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was. Or, all right, now that feeling has kind of gone away a little bit, I can focus back up a little bit. Yeah, the getting over fear of public stuff is not easy by any stretch, but it is very helpful that most of the time people are going to be like, listen, I'm not qualified for this kind of thing, but like, can I call someone? Can I, like those kinds of things. it's a lot. It's definitely a lot.
Mhm.
I like the idea that, and it's one of those things I actually tell kids a lot of the time. Is just like other people aren't paying attention to you. They're in their world, you know. They're focused on themselves, walking around town doing their thing. And if you're worried that you're having a bad hair day, but they're focused on their hair, they're not paying attention to your hair. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different. It's one of imaginary audience is the term a lot of people use.
Mm-hmm. I had a therapist tell me once, because some people who have extreme anxiety, they can actually lose a little bit of their like bowel control, for example, or like other controls in their body and things like that, which is very common, or like the fainting and things like that. So like worst case scenario, they said, okay, so you're afraid of shitting your pants in public, is what they said. Okay, then what? So who cares? Wear a diaper, okay? Who cares? They said they made such a small thing out of it. It's okay. Like what's your absolute worst fear of what's gonna happen? Like, are you gonna die? Like what can get you like past those moments? How embarrassing really is it? And sorry, mentioning that you haven't been able to go in IKEA, I had a very hard time going in places with bright lights and open spaces. So something that really helped me was if you know that there's a place that's a trigger, especially IKEA, go in the front door and go sit down somewhere on a bench. When you're feeling on a good day really brave, go just sit down on the bench and let yourself have your panic attack maybe, or go through the emotions that you need to, and try and ground yourself while you're there on a bench by yourself, or maybe even with a support person, and just sit there for a little bit and see if you can tolerate it. And the grounding technique of like making your body feel really heavy is part of meditation. Like every point of contact on the floor, like Sirius mentioned, feeling your feet on the floor, your butt on the bench, your hands on the table, and like feeling really heavy can help you go through all of these methods and see if it helps. And then if it passes, you might find you're good. Usually when I get through that, if I feel it, it doesn't come back the rest of the time I'm there, whatever that location is. So that's something you can try as well. But also small steps is if you don't feel like going in that day, maybe just going up to the door is your first step. Or maybe trying like a similar store that you can get a little more comfortable in, or just thinking about it for the day can be a small step if it's a bad day. You know, you don't have to rush and do it all at once. But I just wanted to get that out as well. But
exposure, absolutely.
Exposure, small exposure, yeah.
Baby steps, isn't it?
Yeah. Any other topics you guys wanted to bring up that are important to you? Or I think we've had like a massive therapy session today with chat. We've covered so much.
I just appreciate y'all and appreciate people in the chat for coming out and sharing those experiences. I know it can be hard to like be genuine in a chat. I know that like even it's hard sometimes for me to be genuine because of the ADHD. It's like jokes, you know. So I have to like really kind of. It's hard sometimes. So I just appreciate the authenticity of people and being able to be open about, you know, struggles and things like that. And these are all topics. They're all important. And just because we focused on these today doesn't mean the thing that possibly someone else is struggling with and hasn't maybe brought it up. Maybe we haven't talked about that. It hasn't gotten there. You're important.
Yeah, anything I'd really add to that is that if anyone watching has been affected by anything we talked today, it's really important to reach out. Don't sit there and suffer in silence. If suddenly it's, you know, a bombshell's been dropped, holy shit, I'm in an abusive relationship, it's really important to reach out. Click one of the links in chat, have a look what's pinned, go and talk to somebody that you can trust, a family member, a friend, or, you know, have a think about booking therapy. Whatever it is, it's important to go and do what's right for you and to make sure that you're safe and you are happy. But yeah, it's just really, really important. If anyone out there feels affected, this could have been a turning point. This could have been, holy shit, I've found out something, and these people are talking. It might give me the inspiration to go and get the support I need. Don't sit there and procrastinate on it. Do it. If you've just had that thing in the back of your head going, oh, maybe I should do this. This is your wake up call. This is your opportunity to go and fight this, and to go and take a step forward and to work on this. Don't just sit there and be like, you know, I've heard about someone talking, I can deal with that later. You probably can, but why not try to make a move now? The waiting list in some countries for therapy is disgusting, especially if it's free. So you can go ahead and at least start the process. What have you got to lose? You are still where you are now. You may as well start something. And I'm always just one of those advocates of do something about it. Don't just sit there and continue ignoring it if some of this has sparked a fire inside you. And just, everyone is really important. If surround yourself with people that can be like-minded just as equally as people that challenge you as well for what you believe. It's really important to have that equality. Don't always surround yourself with people that just yes people. It's good to be challenged. It's important to have challenge. But likewise, if you're surrounding yourself with people that are negative and a mood hoovers, like they suck the life out of you, do something about it. It's not healthy. You need to be happy in this one life that you live. So surround yourself with people that challenge you. Surround yourself with people that make you happy and respect you. They care for you. They honor who you are. They share your boundaries. They respect your boundaries. It's really, really important to do that. And just it's really important to feel valued and respected. Everyone out there, you are all valued. Even if you feel worthless and you're not sure why you're alive, you are alive. You are here. And there are people that care for you, whether you believe it or not. There are always people out there that care for you. So make sure you reach out if you need to. Slap up a DM. Put a post out to somebody. Do something positive with the motion that you can set off. Change things in your life if you have to. You don't have to think, man, life is really shit. Well, why is life shit? Have a look at why you're not enjoying it. Do something about it. Tell your boss to go fuck himself. Get a better job. Tell that friend that's a mood hoover, sort your shit out. Come on, find out why they're being a mood hoover. Forward to stronger friends. Do something about it. Don't suffer in silence. That's what I have to impart with you.
And we have those links. Feel free to reach out in Discord if anyone has any further questions. We can always do another one of these if you guys have topics. And Trav and Sirius here always are talking about serious things on their streams as well, and hanging out with you guys. So we're here. Thank you guys too for being so open. I wasn't planning on being this open today, and my chat just learned a lot about me I didn't know before. So thanks for being open, and I definitely know both of you much better now. Chat, I hope you enjoyed this and got something out of it. And yes, never stop self-reflecting. There's always things that are going to change, things that are going to come up, things you can learn about yourself. So always be curious about others and yourself. There's a boop snoot. But yeah, be very curious and see if there is everyone has a problem. So see what your problem is and work on it. So I think we can call it there then. I think this is very successful. That's and great. I hope everybody got a lot out of it. It was fun bouncing things back and forth with you guys. So do you guys want to just leave off with saying where to find you on Twitch and maybe your Twitch page and stuff like that so people can find you and when you stream?
Sure.
And feel free to drop links in chat as well. I had them pinned earlier, and now they are unpinned.
Oh God, you don't tell me we're having to do stuff.
Oh, you don't. You if you want to post a link, you can. But even your tag so people can find you.
I'll just throw all my links right there. That's got everything. It's got the Twitch, the Instagram, the TikTok, the YouTube, all the stuff. In case you're interested in any of the things that I'm doing, definitely if there's something that you wanted to reach out about, the DMs are open. I don't give out therapy for free, but I will guide you in the right direction. Definitely make sure that you're taking care of yourselves, taking care of each other, and it was really lovely to meet the people. And thanks for having me.
And Sirius, did you have your links as well?
Yeah, I'll shove my link tree with everything on it. Pay no attention to my media kit with my terrible figures. But yeah, I'm here. I do chaotic streams. We do mental health streams. I do awareness streams, do some charity work. But mainly it's me swearing, screaming like a child, doing all sorts, playing the didgeridoo or annoying people with stupid instruments, and just even wearing a cow hat and letting party poppers off. So if you guys just want to come and have a hang, a chill, watch me play some games, you're very welcome to. And yeah, my community as well, DMs are open to everyone. I always welcome people to come and join the stream and to just introduce themselves. And if there's issues, that's great. I would say if there's any specific traumas, I would always say join the Discord and throw it across into a DM. Streams are great to talk about stuff, but if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of it, I would always recommend taking it somewhere it's a bit more private, just because it's good to have that privacy from people that you don't necessarily know. I don't believe in this whole don't trauma dump. I think it's great. Come and talk about stuff, but just make sure you feel safe before doing it is really important.
And
That's
one more
it.
thing too, you gotta check out Trav's TikToks too and stuff in his reels, because or like your Instagram reels and stuff like that. They're really funny. I enjoy watching those all the time. I know you put your links there, but I always love your reels. That's how I originally found you. So yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Remember when you used to have your other person that you used to stream with?
Yeah.
I guess from way back then. Like I found you guys through that somehow, and you guys were so funny. And then I found you on Twitch or whatever, and I ended up rating somehow and stuff like that. So yeah. That's probably why I always end up talking to you on Instagram, and I talk to Sirius on Twitter all the time. So, yeah, I pay attention to people. I care about people's lives.
Say that, no.
I don't. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, but thanks very much for joining us, guys. And yes, I don't do mental health streams a lot. I'm usually a variety gamer, but yeah, I very much do advocate for all this stuff. So I was really glad to have the two of you on today. Have an excellent rest of your day, guys, and yeah, feel free to reach out if you need. Okay, so all the love from all of us, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.